Compton crazy mother named Ice Cube. From the gang called Fellers with Attitudes. When I'm called off, I got a soda. Squeeze the trigger and bodies are hauled off. You too, boy, if you're with me. The police are gonna have to come and get me off your ass. That's how I'm going out. For the pulp mother, it's going out.
I love it. I saw that on Instagram and I thought, I'm definitely having that. That's mine. So, anyway, welcome. Hi, boys. Are you all right? Tonight we've got Martyn and Stu.
Hello.
What can they say?
Hello.
The links to these two gentlemen's YouTube channels will be in the description below, but no doubt most of you lads will know who they are. So, how are you both? All right?
Yeah,
Good.
very well.
Good.
Thanks, Shabby.
Good.
Kevin says, I wonder if our little Stu will have any ponies in his top five. Little Stu.
That's all right.
If anyone shows a baseball glove in their top five, I thought that was pretty impressive, though, Geek Strong. You know, and the funniest thing is I learned some of them because I always thought they all wore the same type of mitt. I didn't know there was different size. I should have known really because there were kids when they had it. Obviously, hands grow a bit, but I didn't know that a pitcher and a fielder and everybody they had different types of baseball.
No, I haven't got a clue. Didn't have a clue. I tell you what, I have got though, Dino, in my top five, and that's a jock strap, mate. So there you go. Get your eyes around that.
And it's mine.
Finally, some real guests on the show. Finally, Gary Moore says, you know, at last. Someone you might know, Martyn's right there. Good old Adam's here. Gilster's here. Hi, Gilster. I've been looking forward to this, as Count Duke would say. Evening, Shabby. And I've been looking forward
Hello,
to
Tone.
Hey, Tony Z. How are you, pal? Our Des is here. How are you, Des? G-Force is here. Yo, G-Force. Des, Adam, who should be on the show, Gilster, Tony. You should be on. Hi, Cat. Top five. Was it easy? Was it not? And how did you get round to your top five?
Martyn, you can start.
Yeah, it was pretty tough because I'll take you back to what Des said. It changes quite frequently.
I heard you on next week it'd be a different show, right?
Yeah, I think there's about 10 at the moment things that I own that I was trying to decide between to make the five, and obviously the mention as well. But yeah, it wasn't easy because a lot of the things mean a lot to me. So it wasn't particularly easy.
What about you?
To be honest with you, I've looked at the stuff I've got in front of me, and I'm thinking, absolute no-brainers, really. I mean, I've got a lot of cool stuff, but when it comes, so my top five is basically based all on sentimentality, nostalgia, that kind of thing. It's stuff that I had as a kid, or it's the first time I had it and it means something because of this, that, and the other. So there's stories behind everything that I've.
It's hard to get hold of it, isn't it? Because that's what I was thinking. I was setting this up. I was thinking, well, how will people pick the top? And it kind of develops ever since our Des said that, because I was like, people are going to pick like expensive stuff that no one's allowed to touch, or people's going to pick nostalgia, people are going to pick emotion, like give, because that's a difficult thing too. I don't know whether you two got rooms like I have, we're full of stuff. So it's hard when you look around because you think to yourself, well, that person gave me that and I really like that. And so, but is that a top five? Or I paid a lot of money for that one. Is that a top five?
Yeah. I will say the thing is, because so many people have gifted me stuff, I haven't really gone for gifts and stuff like that, because I don't want to appear that I've favored something over something else. So I've just left out gifts and stuff like that. But, there's no, everybody's top five is personal to them, isn't it? So there's no real rule that you've got to do it this way. It's personal preference. It's like collecting. You like what you like, you collect what you like. Your top five is your own personal choices. So
and it's a different. I mean, I've got a selection of football shirts I've been collecting since I was a kid. So I've got football shirts from the 80s, the 90s. I remember Gav, I don't know whether you know Gav. Gavin, he does the same thing where he collects football shirts. And I've got a sugar load of them in the house, but is that a top five to me? You know what I mean? That's a completely different. And so I was thinking to myself as well, lads, that, should you do a top five this or a top five that? And I thought, well, no, because then you're going down a deep thing. I think as collectors, we all do that, don't we? We try and focus on one thing, but I guarantee there's something that you two have gone out to and found that's nothing to do with your collection, but you thought, I'd love to start getting into that, or I'd love to start buying that. Am I on there?
I think that happens to Martyn more so than because we're quite we collect quite a bit of everything, don't we, Shabs? With Martin,
Yeah,
bless
we
him,
do.
he's always like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I like
Yeah.
that, but I can't. I don't have the
Stuart.
room."
Yeah, Stuart and I had this conversation yesterday because we had a look around Forbidden Planet in London,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and for me, it was interesting for about 2 meters of the shop.
Yeah.
But for Stu, it was interesting for pretty much the entire shop.
Yeah.
But then Stu
Yeah.
was showing me this stuff, and I was going, "Oh, that's really good," and I like the packaging on that, and
Yeah.
I can see how easy it would be to fall into that trap.
It's hard. It's hard. I was quite lucky in that sense because for years I was just strictly Star Wars. It was always Star Wars for me, and I think it's because around the time I started collecting Star Wars again, which was about 20, 25 years ago, there wasn't like there is now. Like all the Transformers were out, and the 6-inch took over big time, didn't it? You know, once
Yeah.
Black Series took over, they all started doing it. And I remember it was the Black Series for me because I don't know whether you remember us at that time, but it was so hard to get hold of over here. The distribution was terrible, and you're like, and, you know, and I just thought, you know, instead of pissing and moaning and just waiting along for Black Series to come every once in a while, start collecting something else. And so then He-Man came along, and then obviously when you do the multiverse, I mean the Masterverse, I thought, well, I'll get the
Yeah.
then. Well, I'll start collecting the vintage of it, and it just goes from there. Doesn't it? And then obviously Batman 66, and Playmobil started doing all the pop culture. So it's hard. I've got to commend you really for sticking with one franchise.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
really
takes some discipline. I got to say, it does
Yeah,
take
it
some
really
discipline.
does. Yeah. Des says, I've just noticed Martin's shirt number 2. Nice. Don't know. Jason says, hello all. Stu and Martyn have been together all weekend. So now I'm top 5. How much time do they want them to be together?
Well, there you are.
So as you all saw on Friday, we all know that you two are London friends. London friends. So what did you do? How come London was arranged? What did you do there?
Well, if you don't mind, Stu, I'll start off, and then you can finish it off. But I'd say it was about September, maybe August time last year, and Stu sent me this text, said, "You doing anything on the 8th of June next year?" I was like, "Well, I don't think so." And he said, "All right, keep the date free because you're coming over and we're doing something, you and Steph with me and Georgie." So I was like, "Okay." So Steph and I aren't the sort of people who like not to know what we're doing. So we instantly went on the internet to try and find out what we might be doing that day. We could not
very
find
trustworthy, is it? That's Stu. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Well, you know, Steph was worried about what am I going to wear, you know, how are we going to get there, all this sort of stuff. So we couldn't find anything. Anyway, the months progressed and we had no idea still. And we finally got to the date. So we travelled down to Stu and Georgie's, and you know, honestly, the day of, still had no idea what we were doing. And I'll let Stu tell you what we did, but
firstly, we met up on Saturday, didn't we? We met up
yes, we did.
Saturday and stuff like that. So we had a lovely time, and we went to a local cafe. We just had a small bite and stuff like that. Because Martin he pigged out the night before and had a few beers or one beer, and that kind of like ruined him for the rest of the day, sort of thing. So he just went local.
Ruined him for the day.
It did ruin him for the rest of the day.
Stu's talking about himself, Shabby.
Behave. So we got back to the hotel. We thought we'd just have a drink in there, and I somehow managed to embarrass Martin, and apparently Steph says Martin never gets embarrassed. And I'm like,
I don't get embarrassed by anything. You can do whatever, you know, you can say whatever you want in front of me, in front of other people. I do not get embarrassed. Stu managed to make me go bright red and do this in the public of the hotel lobby because of what he did. Now I'll let him decide whether he tells you what he did.
No, you got to tell us now.
There were these two rather voluptuous, is the word, rotund ladies.
I kind of
in
ladies.
the foyer, right? And as I turned round, one of them had bent over. So I just burst into song. I see a bad moon rising, and he's like, "Oh my fucking lord!"
Well,
he's gone down.
It was
like
a bit
that.
louder than that, Shabby.
Well, it did.
Everybody
echo,
in the
because
entire
acoustics were
hotel pretty
fantastic.
much looked out of their doors to see what was going on.
The acoustics were great. It sounded brilliant.
Yeah.
But, they were none
Did
the
you get in
wiser.
trouble for that? Did you take? Because I don't know if the story of me happening when I was in England about 15 years ago in Boots. Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
And it's roughly the same. So, you know, upstairs at Boots at Christmas, Boots is, for all the Americans that know, it's like a CVS, but it's a bit posher. It's like a department store that has floors, and you buy all your gift knacky stuff. It's easy to go in there at Boots at Christmas, in it, to buy, you know, scented things and so forth. Well, I go in there 2 days before Christmas Eve, and it's heaving, absolutely heaving, right? And they do this section where you at the bottom floor it's all makeup and stuff, and then you do homewares and this and that. At the top is all the scented stuff, and they might have just put it up there for Christmas, all the packaging and stuff. Oh, there's me mum's, there's this, there's that, you know. So I get in the queue, and there must have been about 10, at least 9 or 10 people in front of me. So I'm stood in this queue. You just stop people watching, you're having a look around and you're looking at these people. The elevator comes, you know, you got those elevators, aren't you, in Boots, and you can see who's coming up. This woman comes in. She must have been about, I don't know, 25, 30 at the time. And she had these white jeans on. And I'd never seen jeans like it. And it just got to a point where I'm sat there looking at her thinking, how the hell has she put these jeans on? I've never seen anything look so tight in my life. It like they were sprayed on. I mean, they were proper tight, and she had, you know, I'm not being nasty to this lady, but she was a little bit bigger and everything's overflowing from the top of it. And I'm watching her, and I just got my eyes on her. I was like fixed by how she's got into these. And I remember, because like I said, the white jeans, and so they were really bright.
Oh no!
So she's walking else, and I'm watching her. You know, you do this, don't you? You don't think what you're doing. You're just looking at this woman, and she walks over, and she bends down to pick up one of these, and the whole back of the jeans split. Boom! Like that. But because I was watching her for about 5 minutes, I started laughing, right? But that's the thing, because I was thinking, oh, you know, how did she get in those jeans and all that sort of stuff? If it just happened and I just turned, I probably, but because I was watching, but everyone turned around. I went, oh, you tight, get what you're laughing. And I thought, oh no, do you know what I mean? Because I didn't realize I'd done it that loud. So all the people in the queue were like, oh, you tight, get. I went, I didn't do it. Do you know what I mean? So I know what you mean by embarrassing. So it embarrassed you.
I didn't get into trouble. Well, I didn't think I did, because me and Georgie left pretty much straight away. We just left them two sitting there. So we I don't know, but anyway, we got the early train up to London, didn't we? We met at Woking train station, got the 9:30ish train up to London. And we thought we'd have a little mooch around, didn't we? So we just walked around, and then it got to a point where it was like, well, the restaurant that we wanted to go to was closed. It wasn't open till 12, and we had to be at a certain place at a certain time. So we went around the corner, had a drink and stuff like that in a cafe, and then the conversation went on. And then I'll let Martin explain this bit.
Yeah, so you know, I hadn't been to London for at least 10 years. I hadn't been to London. I'm not a big fan of London, Shabby, to be honest with you.
I'm the flip side. I love it.
Yeah, no, well, I have to say, after this weekend, I have now a greater appreciation of it again, because it's been such a long time. I didn't actually realize how much fun it is and how great it is, seeing all the history and everything.
Yes,
but we're sat there, and I'm talking about all the times I did go to London in the past, because I had been there quite a lot, and I got onto the fact that I really enjoyed going to see those orchestral concerts that they have at the Royal Albert Hall. And you know, I went to see a John Williams one in the past, and I went to see a Star Trek one, and I saw Michael Giacchino's 50th one there.
Oh, I bet that was a good one. Yeah.
It was J.J. Abrams was there, Gareth Edwards was there, the guy who does Gonzo's voice, and Gonzo was there. It was really good. Anyway, I looked over to Stu, and if it were me, I would have kept a straight face and not given away that that's what we were doing. But I'll pass back to Stu.
Yeah, so the night before, Martin said that he was going to be trying again to look to see what was, because even Georgie said, I think I've got an idea what you're doing. And I said, what? And she said what she thought it was. And I said, no, it's nothing to do with that. And she was like, oh, okay. So she gave up, which was great.
So Georgie didn't know either. You'd sorted it out for, wow.
No, yeah. So we're sitting there, and he's mentioned this Royal Albert Hall. And of course, I'm absolutely rubbish. And I've just gone like that. And I just turned around, smiled and said, yeah, that's what we're doing. And then Martin was like, what? Are we really? And I was like, yeah. Wow. So we went to the Royal Albert Hall, and it was Hans Zimmer and John Williams, like a collaboration.
You put a picture, a piece of video up, and I was like, even watching that, you're like, wow. Do you know what I mean? I bet that I bet you were awestruck, weren't you, with that, Martin?
I mean, this. So the first thing they played was not just the theme, but the whole suite from E.T. Everybody knows I cry at anything these days. Since I've reached 45, I just cry, and I was like. I was whispering to Steph, pass me the tissues. I was literally on the verge of crying, because goosebumps all over. It was, you know, it's magical hearing an orchestra play themes of films that you've grown up with. I can't explain it. If you've never done it before, you've got to do it, because it's amazing. And as soon as the E.T. theme kicked in, I mean, I didn't realize I was doing it, but I was doing the conducting with my
Oh,
finger.
You were doing that,
Oh, Shabby, honestly, mate, it was
What a
it was
great
the
experience.
greatest surprise, and it
I
was
bet
the
it was. What a
greatest
lovely
day.
thing
It really
to do.
was.
Oh,
I
that's
was, yeah. Can't
yeah.
thank Stuart and Georgie enough, honestly.
So,
No,
so
it was awesome.
So they went through like the everything from Indiana Jones to Star Wars to
Yep.
to all sorts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean,
Wow.
so they started off with ET, which really got my what I've got of them hairs like standing up, because Georgie loves ET, and I think even Jonathan Redmond would have enjoyed it. But she got really excited about it, so I knew that she was really happy and excited. And then I could see Martin like just doing this away on the other side of the, like, because he was a couple of seats down. And it just makes you want to fill up, well up, because
Yeah, it does.
I think the music to films is so powerful. It really is, because it brings all that like nostalgia back for when you was a kid. Because I remember watching that as a kid. I mean, I cried at that, and I was 6 years old when I first saw it.
Yeah.
So I got upset in certain parts. But then just to hear the sweet and then that crescendo at the end was absolutely awesome. And then I even heard Martin go, "Oh wow," because they did something with the lights, didn't they? When it got to a certain point, and then the auditorium was just like absolutely.
I mean, for pop culture enthusiasts like us, I mean, hearing it on your stereo, for example, being in a room like that, how could you not be overwhelmed? How could you not put tears in your eyes? You know,
I own no music that from actual artists. I'm happy to admit that I've never really been into bands, singers, you name it. I've always listened to orchestral soundtracks, even and it's all because of Star Wars, to be quite honest with you, because I fell in love with the Star Wars original trilogy soundtracks. But I literally just listen in the car. I'll listen to soundtracks. That's all I listen to, and to hear it done by like an 80-piece orchestra, it's just incredible. I mean, that there was a Harry Potter theme, which was brilliant. There was the Superman theme, the John Williams Superman theme for me was probably, even though
they played
Star
it at the
Wars
end, didn't they?
it was just incredible.
It's just music we've all grown up with. It's in us, isn't it? You know, it's you could hear 2 bars of a piece of music from that, and we know what it is. So well, I mean, it's like Leah's theme for me. Leah's theme is always the one that gets me off every time. You know, so.
But I mean, they did some Hans Zimmer stuff as well. So they did like Pirates of the Caribbean, Gladiator, but they did. Is it what was that? Interstellar. Now I've never seen the film, so I don't know any of the music.
Film.
But they played a piece of music, and they actually this girl come out specially to play the organ at the Royal Albert. Oh mate, how loud was that?
Yeah,
that was incredible.
The Royal Albert Hall, though, too. I mean, it's not just some convention.
Yeah, I know.
This is it.
I know.
Yeah, kid, splashing his cash.
I know.
Oh, no. Well, it was arranged a year ago and stuff like that. So, and my only worry was because I had the idea of getting to the Royal Albert Hall and kind of teasing him, saying, "Oh yeah, they've got this on and this. Oh, it's a pity we're not going." And then like emailing them the tickets or sending them the tickets.
Yeah,
but they'd been before anyway, so it kind of worked out better that way. That I just said, "Oh yeah, okay, this is where we're going," and stuff like that. And like I say, Georgie had an idea, but then I said, "No, that's not it at all." So she sort of like gave up, sort of like asking and stuff.
See,
like
I'd
that.
be useless at that. I've got to admit, I can't. Yeah, you'd know.
Yeah, but they played Batman from the Dark Knight trilogy, which was great.
Yeah.
Nice one, Gills. So the Batman music, and I suppose the loud as well makes it overwhelming as well, isn't it? When it's boom,
but they didn't play the proper theme into it, did they? They kind of like missed a bit out, which was. But I mean, overall, it was just absolutely awesome. Oh, and the bit that got me, they did a suite from Close Encounters. That's the first time I've ever heard that live, and it was just absolutely. I love that film. I love the music to that film. I just thought it was absolute quality.
Where was the train journey? Did you leave a package on there? Oh.
Funny you mentioned that, Gary.
No. My hands were empty. I carried no bags yesterday. So.
Martin doesn't get embarrassed challenging.
Oh. Good luck, my friend. Good luck.
The story will be as long as PGM's.
Oh, but no.
Oh, no. I tell you what, awesome. That's no moon. That's a space station. Palps.
But then we went out for something to eat afterwards, didn't we?
Oh,
so
yeah.
we went. So we went to a place called Bodine's, and it's the same place that we went on the Easter Sunday, or Easter Monday when Si Leslie, and Scuba came down for celebration.
Yeah.
And it was the actual same restaurant as well, opposite one of the theatres. And the food was fantastic.
God.
It was
The
So,
food.
and that's what it means, though, isn't it? All it takes is just to say hello to each other and welcome each other, and then you end up with weekends like this. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't imagine not knowing Stu and Georgie now. They've become such great friends, and it's the same with everybody in the community. I said to Stuart yesterday, the best part of getting to know all of you is that I've got all these great new friends now, and
all over the world. All over the world.
Yeah. It's great. It really is great.
Simon said, I once saw a fat ass at NEC, but it was Travels with Scumbag.
awesome.
So what I'm getting from this is that Stu and Shabby are dirty. I ain't got the time to be a dirty old man. You're joking, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
No, it was just well,
I mean,
I
I'd
wouldn't
just
laugh
start
at it, to
crying.
be honest.
I wouldn't know what to do. If a 25-year-old model came up to me, I'd just start crying. I would no, I give up. Them days are more than gone for Shabs. Hello, Rob's Retro. Hello to the chat, to Shabby, and to the bosom buddies. Yeah, hi, Rob. It's good to see you, pal. How long does this story go on for? That PGM, he gets it, doesn't he? Sorry, Emily. I was caught using the wife's expensive shampoo and conditioner, and I was being berated. It's weird, that, isn't it, when you do that, though. I've done that a few times. You know, when you've run out, or you've left it on the other side of the bathroom, so you just I'll just borrow a bit of, then you end up smelling like your wife all day. So
I don't even look at the bottle.
Just me. Okay.
Just you, Shabs. Yeah.
I'll just get down here with them. We'll go. The ET theme. I want to fuck time demanding. No, that you've got to admit, Red, is that.
I mean, they were superb. The orchestra was superb, and the conductor, he was pretty cool as well, because he was actually interacting with the audience as well. So he was like telling us the stories of the different themes and stuff like that, and what music he was going to be playing. So
how long was it on for? Was it a good few hours, or
it was a couple of hours, wasn't it?
2.5.
It didn't feel like that, to be honest. It didn't feel like that.
No, it went so fast. They also did the new Dune soundtrack from the two new Dune movies. Yeah, and they have the girl who does the orchestra, does the singing part in their theme. They had this girl come out, and it was so loud, wasn't it, Stu? But it sounded fantastic. It was.
Did the girls like it? Did the girls enjoy it?
Oh, Steph loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, we used to go up to London quite a bit, and it would, because when I first met Georgie, she said that she'd been up to the Royal Albert Hall and she'd gone to see like a John Williams concert, and I was quite jealous. I was like, I'd love to go to one of these, and it ended up that we went, whether it was to go see one of the film orchestras and stuff like that, to watch the film and have the live orchestra playing the music in front, or we go up and see like a compilation of different composers and stuff like that. So we used to go up practically once every year, but we've stopped doing that for a while. And the last time we went was in 2022, and that was because we were supposed to have gone in 2020, but obviously things happened, so they didn't give us a refund. So it was the Return of the Jedi in concert. So it was the film plus the orchestra. So we went up to London, and I think it was a week or so after the Queen had passed away, and a week before we went away to Florida. So that it was, when we went up there, it was quite eerie, because it was like a silence, because we walked past Buckingham Palace, and all the the park opposite was full of flowers and stuff like that. And I mean, we just love going up there. We just think it's fantastic. And Martin said yesterday that it should be maybe something we look at doing once a year together.
You should do it. I love it. I took my wife, and my wife wasn't interested at all.
Really?
I went to do all the historical stuff, and I think Van Gogh had a thing at the National. Man and Size, our cousins, are curators of the National Museum in London and the National Museum in Hong Kong. There's two sisters, and they're both curators on this side. And so she was saying, Mark, we've got this thing coming up and so forth. And I was like, brilliant. My wife just wanted to go to Topshop. She was like, I'm showing her Van Gogh, right? The Michelangelo has this thing when you go into this room at the National Museum and it's all dark and all these blueprints are out and so forth. And I could have been there hours. Yeah. And I'm not exactly a massive fan, but to see something like that, my wife was like huffing and puffing. Couldn't be.
Yeah, one of the best parts of the day as well was when we got off the train at Waterloo Station. We literally walked to the Royal Albert Hall. We didn't take any trains or underground trains. It must have been a good couple of miles, 3 miles, Stu. Walking through. Getting to see. Awesome. We saw everything. It was.
I'm a big fan. I lived there for 4 years, like I said before, I came to the States, and I'm a I lived right on the corner of Blandford and Oxford Street, and then Baker Street right there. So from my room, you could see straight into Sherlock Holmes's house. You know, I was right there, and I absolutely love. Yeah, I'm a massive fan.
We've got a new nickname for Georgie. Just call us Satnav.
Sat down. I bet you though, it's money well spent, wasn't it? When you saw these three people that you'd done this for, having the time of my life, I bet you were like,
I was kind of worried about. I know Georgie would have liked it. Like I said, I didn't know that Martyn had been before and Steph had been before. I had an idea that Martyn would have liked it because I know he's spoken passionately about music before, like John Williams and stuff like that. And so I wasn't too sure about Steph, but to see Martyn and Steph's reaction and Georgie's reaction, and then the enjoyment they got out of it, I was like, "Oh man, it was cool. It was
job done,
for me. That made the day, just seeing their reactions and how they felt and what it meant to them and stuff like that. So it was awesome.
Awesome, man. That's brilliant. Gary Moore says the whole ET score done with 36 keys on the piano. Awesome. Oh, that was brilliant. But it's when she came back on the pub quiz and played that song within 36 keys, I thought, very good, very
She did that in one take, Shabby.
Oh, she's
awesome.
Oh,
really? Well, check her out.
That explains Martyn's dislike for Nirvana. There you go.
Yeah.
Stu hasn't seen Interstellar. Stu has homework assignment. It's a great film.
I know. I've got a lot of films I need to watch.
Matt's collection says meeting people in this community is the best. I'm so looking for. Do you get that thing when you meet the lads as well? They're exactly what they say. There's no. I've yet to meet somebody that I've gone. That's not that person. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the best thing about doing, and that's one of the key elements for doing YouTube. You don't need to put a persona on. I think people will like you just for being you. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like just be yourself. Don't pretend to be anybody else. So that's how I see it.
Geek Strong says, last summer my buddy asked me if I wanted to see the Star Wars movie in orchestra. I asked which Star Wars. He said The Last Jedi. I said, hell no. It's a true story. It's a true story.
Well, you mentioned that yesterday, didn't you? You said something about they got the Force Awakens coming up, and I didn't hear him say it. But
berries here. So everyone, 50 people have turned up. So this is awesome. This is fantastic. Thank you all so much. Right, I'll get down a bit. But tonight, we're here to talk about your top 5. So you're happy with your top 5? How many times did you go through it? You think, no, actually, this is a good top 5. I'm happy with this one.
Martyn?
I mean, I worked a bit on it this afternoon. I wrote some notes because I just write notes. I can't help it.
All right.
And so I'm fairly happy with it. There's a couple of things I might have changed places if I was given an hour or two more, but I'm happy with it.
Top 5's on for 7 hours.
When I messaged you about 8 or 9 weeks ago, however long it was that you started doing this, you said, "Oh, you'd be on in June." I was like, "Oh, all right." So I've had a long time to think about it, but I think I might have changed 1 or 2 things, but other than that, I think I'm pretty happy with what I've chosen. Yeah.
What I've noticed over the 8 weeks I've done this so far is what's impressed me the most is it's easy to go, oh, we've got this and this is what, but it's the stories that go with it. I've learned so much of people and the stories and the things behind it and so forth. So I'm looking forward to this tonight. But anyway, we'll start off with your honourable mentions.
I just expect topless darts.
Now you sent me some pictures, Stu.
I did, yes.
Yes, just get these up and running. Let's have a look. Right, I've got Stu's right there. So, Stu, let me just present this.
Okay.
And this is Stu's honourable mention.
Yes. Now, I know it would be a lot of people's top 5. It probably would have been in my top 5, but like I said, I've gone for like the sentimental values and the nostalgia that I had as a kid back in the 80s and stuff like that for my picks, and that's the reason why this is only an honourable mention, because I don't really have that much of a sentimental feeling towards it. It's great, I love it, I think it's absolutely fantastic, I'm glad I've got it, but the story behind it was it's, as you know, because we've discussed it quite a few times and other people have mentioned it, it wasn't readily available in the UK or other parts of the world. So there's some dusting need doing there, Adam Berry. Trust you to notice that, but it's all good. So when I had the opportunity to get this, I got it on the secondary market, and it was going for, at the time, $1,500. So I thought, oh, do you know what? That's not too bad. considering the other week at MCM, we saw one box going for 4,500.
Wow. This is the one that went way up, didn't it? I mean, I've got to admit, I agree with what you said, and I also disagree a little bit. It doesn't really matter with this thing whether it's modern or vintage. What that's so iconic to us. It's one of those things. I bet you did the same thing when you saw. I have to have one.
It's iconic. It's iconic, but I never had it as a kid.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So that's the reason why it's my honourable mention. But when I got it, it said on eBay, "Oh, you're going to be charged for this, this, and this, and this." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And it was like $500 for the postage and packaging. Then another $500 on top of that for the import tax as well. So in the end, it comes to about $2,500. And I was like, "Oh my god!" So of course, me good at keeping secrets. I never said anything to Georgie. And one day, I used to get all my mail. I used to get posted to my mum and dad. And my dad's phoned up. He goes, "There's a bloody big box around here, bloody like that." And I was like, "Yeah, we come out at the weekend." So I said to George, "You would take your car," and I walked in first. I saw it, and I was like, because you just don't realize how big that box is when you see it, or how long it is. I was like, "Oh my god!" And I said to Georgie, "I think you might have to put your boot down, love." And she come in, she just looked at it instead, and she's just give me the look, and I was like, "Yeah,
look at the detail on it, though."
I know. It is. It could have done with a dust, but I couldn't be asked. I just
think it's so cool.
It is. I mean,
really, really
and the thing is, to date, I still feel that is the best Star Wars HasLab they've ever done. I don't think anything will beat that. The level of detailing to it, the paint apps they put to it, and the thought and the care that they've put behind this HasLab. And the annoying thing is that it wasn't readily available for the rest of the world. It was just America only, and some people were lucky enough to get it at that time in the UK. And that begs the question, doesn't it? You know, should Hasbro re-release this again and make it available for the rest of the world? So
I don't know. I mean, everyone had the opportunity to get it. That's the way I look at it. But I think because it was the first one, there was a lot of people like myself and ahhing about it, because I'm sat there going, "Hang on a minute, $13.99 figures to go with a £600." It didn't really make sense to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, it was 500, but then when you're counting tax and shipping over here, you're looking at $6. You know. But I always think it's like you spent all that money on getting one. And then I'm thinking, how would you feel if they brought it out again for 500? And I think some of the lads have said if they change it a little bit or didn't put the tiers with it or whatever, it might be a bit. But how do you feel about it?
I think it would have to be done as a Hasbro exclusive. They wouldn't be able to send this out to the, the shops and stuff like that, or the stores, because they wouldn't. But and I know a lot of people they don't agree with the HasLabs. They don't agree with the fundraisers or the Kickstarters and stuff like that.
No, but I stopped complaining about it.
It makes perfect business sense.
I see. I was pissing them off, but then I realized that what I'm doing by doing that though, and coming out and saying this and that about it, is the fact that I'm not buying it. So all I'm doing is just pissing people off that are, and so I took the approach out where I was going, "Oh, it's a bit expensive that, and I don't know why," and I looked at it for what it is, and I've got to admit, every one of them is beautiful.
They are expensive, but like you say, you've got that option to buy it. So if it reaches a certain amount, then it gets funded. If it reaches a certain amount, you get certain tiers. I think that's a lot better way of doing it than making it readily available at a certain cost price where people aren't going to want to buy it, because a lot of people aren't going to want to buy. So they're giving you the option. Do you want to buy it? They make what they need to make.
Yeah.
So, and they get full whack for it, because if you put it in like a Hasbro Pulse, or you put it in a store somewhere, people aren't going to want to buy those prices. And then what happens is after a few years, a few months, it will come down in price, and they're going to be, not say losing money, but they're not going to get full whack for it. So as a business point of view, I get behind it. I totally agree with it. And I think there's nothing wrong with it. And it doesn't matter if you're a big multi-million-pound company that's making in loads of money, or a small company that's doing a Kickstarter. Why should it matter? Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's a business. You're there to make money.
No one's forcing you to get it, are they? That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I think one of the easiest ones for me is I stopped collecting 3 3/4 inch. But I would say if I had a choice between all the HasLabs, that would be the one. that would be the one. It's just there's
Yeah.
just something about it. And how do
mean-
you feel about it, Martin? Do you feel the same way about it, or because I know you've got one as well, don't you? You have
No,
one.
I didn't get that one.
Right.
Now I would love one. I would, you know, I'd love to have one in
Delvian
my
selling him
collection.
cheap. Delvian selling him if you want
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Well, I'll never forgive him for that. But anyway, no, I'm joking, David.
Next time you see Des, smack him right there.
Look, I would love one, as I say, but at the end of the day, I think they should stay exclusive because as much as I want one, I would be really angry if the ones I've bought after that then all of a sudden started coming out, you know, willy-nilly, because I like the exclusivity of them, and I like the bonus carded figures you get with them. You know, just because I'm a carded collector, as you can see, those cards, you know, they sort of added something to my collection on the wall when I display them. So as much as I did buy the card for this HasLab, by the way, separately away from the HasLab, so I do have that, but I'm not a loose collector. I've started to dabble a little bit, but this is probably the one thing that if I did buy, I would probably take it out of the box and have it on display.
GeForce does it, right? GeForce has got all these HasLabs. They're in the box. And I'm like,
Yeah.
GeForce, get them out. Do you know
I
what
mean,
mean?
the barge is just too good to have in a box. It's like Des T saying he's wanted one for all this time. He finally gets one and then just keeps it in the box. If I was Delvin, I would have been doing my nut. I'd be going, what's he doing? You know, open it up.
No, I agree. I agree. This one is so special, as Stuart said. It's the best of all of them, as far as I'm concerned. Seeing Stu's in person, it was the only one I've ever seen in person, and it is immense. The detail on it is incredible.
Yeah.
As a box and carded collector who never takes really anything out, it would be a crime not to take this out and you know,
because you're spending 500 quid for a box. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's a bit different to one of the Guppy's got the same thing. That thing that you just, I saw your video on it, the vintage collecting thing that you open up. That you can see that, and you can see the figures in that, and so forth. And and I like the way what Gary Moore did when he got those Rebels figures and on the card.
That was
really nice.
That
So
was
that
awesome.
sort of thing I can understand.
Yeah.
But you kind of make sense.
Yeah,
that really does. So retro, everyone, we've got nearly 55 people in here, so this has been brilliant. So let's have a look.
Well, if it's Stuart's honourable mention, he obviously doesn't want it anymore. So I mean,
no. It just means that I've got 5 other items that mean more to me than that. It's, you know,
we didn't have the chance to get, and I've talked about this before when obviously Des has got it, and I was talking to Des about it, and I think that was sad in a way. That was really sad because I can't think of anywhere, you know, besides the United States, if not more, England, the United Kingdom for Star Wars was right up there. I mean, they were made there, you know. So I don't.
So do you think they should do it again and just release the barge? No figures, no Jabba, no book that come with it. Just the barge, and maybe change the box up a little bit.
It's the same as what they're doing with the retro collection now. And the way, I mean, obviously on a much higher scale, but the thing about the retro collection is the way I work it out is it's just always nice for people without breaking the bank, like you just said. The opportunity to get one of those Bell Soul barges now, you're looking at thousands of pounds. Well, people haven't got thousands of pounds, and I think with this being the first one, and you know, without people really like myself, you know, most toy enthusiasts not really knowing what's going on and what's this, is it just a one-off thing, or are they going to do this again, or you fall for that thing where you know, 2 years after they'll redo the figure like they're doing Black. Say, oh no, well, this one's got better paint and more. So you never say never when it comes to reissues. If you do it again, you know, it's I think they should do it without the tears, or make it a little bit different, or something else. You know what I mean? And I think that would appease both sides. But there's no right or wrong answer to this. I agree with both of what you're saying. If they bring it out again, it's nice. If they don't bring it out again, then I
know I spent a lot of money on it, but then again, I'd expect that because it was the secondary market. So I can't. I've only got myself to blame, haven't I? So I can't go, well, oh bloody hell. But you know, I would never begrudge anybody getting one. I really wouldn't. No. I mean, look how happy it made Des T. Sorry to rub that in, Martin, but you know, Des was over the moon.
I'm just happy for Des as you are, mate. Honestly, I'm over the moon for Des to get it, because I know he's wanted it, you know, for a long time. So, and my opportunity might come one day. You know, I always hold out the hope that one day Georgie will bump you off and give me a call and say, you know, I've got a barge for sale.
Well, listen, you
Just
do
let
know
me have a
why.
look at it.
You do know why Des wanted it, don't you? You do know why. Because it's small. You needed to have it, Des. Do you know what I mean?
He
He had
did.
to have it. Well, Rachel said, sometimes I wish I held on to my barge because it got me the bulk of my Star Wars vintage collection. Yeah, there's another thing too. I know Mira did it with his, didn't he? Sold his G.I. Joe and starts again and he's doing stuff like that. So I understand that. Oh, Adam says, sell barges ace, but not for me. It's a beautiful collective. And that's the thing. I think it's easy for me to turn around and say things like it's this or that, or you shouldn't, or you should. I think all collectors do different. I think if you focus on your own stuff, like
but you have to. You have to. We're not all going to collect the same thing.
No, we're not. No,
we have to work to a budget. We have to work to the space that we have available.
Yes, sir.
And that's all you can do. So there's no right or wrong.
Our Luke's here. That cell bars does look like mine, minus all. It's black you see for this stuff.
It's given that lived-in look. I know. I can't get to it to dust it because there's other stuff in the way, and I just like to say.
BOE says, I wonder if Jazzwares will do a barge.
Oh, what, like the mini ones that they do? You know, the was it the Micro Squadron or Galaxy Squadron?
But they're all in Ollies. They didn't do his. I like the HasLab model personally. It's a no-brainer. But that's the thing, and that's the way I look at it. I mean, it's up to the purchaser, isn't it? You know, if the barge came out again, I would talk to our side and I'd say, what do you think? Because I'm surprised that our side never backed it, but our side couldn't get it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it was. ATVC, nice to see you, buddy. Right.
Hello, mate.
So we've done your honourable mention, my good friend. What's yours,
No
pal?
worries.
Okay, well, this one's been on top 5 before, which is why it's made it to my honourable mentions. It's a very recent purchase. Oh, God, it's heavy. Just a second. Ugh. It's the San Diego Comic-Con. Can you hear me, Shabby? Sorry, the San Diego Comic-Con Death Star Revenge of the Jedi.
That's your honourable mention.
Yeah, it's an honourable mention because I believe Keith stole my thunder when he was on, and he put his graded one on. So yeah, I mean, it's an absolute thing of beauty. It's something I've wanted since 2011. You rarely ever see them in this country. So when I saw it, I had to snap it up.
That's mental.
Yeah.
So with it being a San Diego Comic Con, it was hard as hen's teeth to get that over there in the UK, was it?
Well, it wasn't really, Shabby. I mean, I remember 2011, 2012 going on eBay and seeing how much they were going for on eBay, and there was quite a few of them available in the UK, and they were like £250, £300, and I'm not paying £250 for that. That's ridiculous, you know. Boy, do you wish you could go back and make rethink.
It was funny that as well, because I remember Tim Bosks made a video of it years ago, and I watched that video and thought, wow, and it was a lot cheaper and it was expensive back then. And he was saying, wow, I paid this much for it and so forth. And obviously, I'm not going to say it's none of my concern, but I know you paid a hefty price for this bad boy, didn't you? So, but it's a beautiful thing to have.
Yeah,
it is. It's stunning.
I'd love to get it on display like Keith's got it, where it's opened up so you can see the figures, but I can't find anyone as of yet who will do a case for me for it.
Right.
But it looks so much nicer when it's opened up. But I would open it up and show you, but it's in this protective case at the moment. Like I say, Keith showed it inside and out. We know what it looks like. It's absolutely stunning. Is this a holy grail for you, being a TVC? This is something you had to have, was it? Yeah, I mean, I'm a completionist, as you know, and this pretty much marked the last thing in the vintage collection in terms of carded figures and exclusives that I needed to complete it. So yeah, this was the holiest of holy grails for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is I had no idea because I'd never touched one before or been near one before until I saw it at Echo this year, and it's so fragile. It's so, I mean, you have to be so careful when you open it because it's just held together by a tiny bit of cardboard.
I've never seen one. So is the cardboard kind of frail? Is it on it? Is it a thinner type of?
So it's like the spot when you open it up. It's obviously got like a spine in the middle, and it's about 3 inches by 3 inches, and it's just one bit of cardboard that's glued with super glue. Yeah, and it, when you open it, you can feel it wobbling as if it's going to rip. So it has, it has to be in a case. It really does. Otherwise, it's going to get ruined very quickly. But yeah, it's in fairly good condition. It's certainly not worth grading like Keith's, but it doesn't matter to me. It's pride of place in the collection. This
It's a
really.
Revenge of the Jedi on it. That's what I think's cool. All the cards.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful piece. It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
if I was banging to a TV, I mean, if ever I came across one of them, you'd have to think twice, wouldn't you? Like, wow, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful piece.
I've got to say, I am surprised. So I've got to say, I'm surprised that it is in your honourable mention, despite it being in Keith's top 5.
Well, admittedly, it did get pushed to honourable mention because Keith had already, and I think only one had sort of mentioned it in his as well as an honourable mention. So I mean, I didn't want to belabor too much because don't want to bore Shabby's audience with the same story. So
you've got the same audience, but you could never bore him. I think it's awesome. I think they should redo the barge with some exclusive tiers. We weren't available for the first one, and also I have some news for you, Martin. You're more than welcome to come over to Des.
Cheers, Des.
Whatever you. That's nice of him. Do you know what I mean?
Is that a barge in your pocket, or are you just pleased to see me?
So we was at the same Echo event, and Martin and Adam come out, and they said, we're going to go back and get something. I want to get something. And then Martin went off and spoke to Steph. And I said to Adam, what's it? He goes, you'll know it when you see it. And he's come walking out and he looked like the cat that got the cream. He was like the biggest smile on his face. He's like, look what I've just got. I
think Georgie took a picture of me as I was holding it coming out. And I've still to this day never seen the picture. So you should have to send it over to
Georgie,
me.
if you're watching, send him a picture over.
Yeah. Someone needs to make 6 videos on. Oh, wait, I did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
The wheel, the balcony.
A question for you, Martin. Would you ever consider a trade?
I would never trade that for a sail barge. Is that where you're going?
Well, yeah.
to me, that's more.
No, that's because
I'm mostly carded stuff. So
yeah, don't feel so bad now, Des. You didn't want the sail barge that badly.
Yeah. I wonder if I was to offer it to Des though, and say, Des, would you switch the sail barge for that? What he would say.
It'd probably be the same as you. I mean, when it's something you really want, it's hard to let go of it, innit? I don't think price or trades come into it, innit, when it's something like that. So Tony C said, just release the barge by itself, no figure. What year is that? Is it 2012 or something like that? That big revenge of the Sedite?
Yeah, I think it was 11. It might be 12.
And they've never done one since then like that.
No, they did a San Diego Comic-Con the following year, and it was the Carbon Freeze Chamber set, and it had all of the Lost Line cards, which were designed that like the Kenner, when they originally did these cards in the 80s and 70s, they had 2 designs they were going to choose from, and they brought out, and the other line was called the Lost Line, and they brought those cards out as a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive.
I've got one. It's the Darth Vader with, and only ones just sold the recently new one as well that they did.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but they had a Carbon Freeze Jar Jar Binks as an exclusive in the center. That nearly made my list. But not quite.
It was on a thing that turned around one. It was like the shape was like that, and they're all in there. No, I picked up the Darth Vader one, but I didn't pick up the actual set. But I know the Jar Jar one you're talking about. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And that came. So that was after that one. Then wow, I didn't know that. I thought that was before it.
That was the following year. The Jar Jar. Yeah,
I agree, Jono.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a lovely thing, that one as well. I really, really like that card.
Absolutely beautiful, yeah.
Just going back to Jono's statement there.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of collectors, I don't think monetary value really comes into it. It's what it means to them as a collector, a sentimental value, a nostalgic value. So I've seen the way that you guys react when you pick something up for the first time, or you get something that you haven't seen for ages and you get it into your collection. I'm more than happy for you guys. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's great to see people feel the same buzz as I do when I see certain things and pick certain things up. So yeah.
And I'm glad you showed it as well, because I don't want you to think, because somebody else is showing it. No, that's what's in your top 5. So I'm really happy you did that. Geekstron says, these 2 boys have amazing collections when a sail barge and a San Diego Comic-Con Death Star didn't make the top 5 yet.
The thing is, you're going to get to the top 5 and you're going, is that it? That's it.
Well, Stu's going to get
Guaranteed.
hang on, Stu. What do you mean? That's better than that. It's a shame we'll never see a TVC San Diego Comic Con exclusive again like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. There's the two most valuable TV licenses, honorable mentions. Yeah. There you go. There's Gups right there. Hi, Gups. Nice to see you,
Saying
pal.
that, Shabs, and again back to Gary's statement. Do you think they would not do like a Death Star one for the Star Wars 50th, where they have the Star Wars?
They're weird to me how they do it though, because I would have thought they'd go all out with Return of the Jedi, and they didn't. They didn't really go all out with it, for their 40th.
Yeah.
And I was like, a couple of the Black Series, I don't know what it was like for TVC, but a couple of Black Series was all repacks, really. They didn't really go all out. I mean, so I'd love to do something like that, but I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on the line. I think you lads that collect TVC are more look to get that than we are at Black Series. The last ship they did for Black Series nearly 3 years ago was a snow speeder. They haven't done one since.
I mean, I like that. I thought that was decent.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. I've got the ship and it's a beautiful ship. But I suppose that's I'd love to see some. I'd like to see like an Ewok village or a Sandcrawler or something. Something. I think the way it's going, I think the original trilogy is definitely the way to go when it comes to stuff. I mean, it's all out, and I don't know how the Ghost did. I mean, I know the Ghost passed, but it didn't do as well, did it, on the HasLab? Did it just creep over? I'm not sure.
No, I think it did fairly well. The Ghost. I think having seen a lot of people's reviews of it, though, I kind of agree. I think someone said it on, perhaps it was ZSR or a previous top 5, that there's a lot of wasted space. And in the Ghost, and they could have perhaps done a little bit more for the price. But as a la Gary Moore's graded figures that he's had, those card backs with the mural in the background, they were worth the price alone, as far as I'm concerned, because they look gorgeous. Those card backs, really like those.
And the way he's got it set up, it looks really, really good too. And I suppose with card backs like that, I said it at the time, it's got the artwork on it. It looks really nice. Tony Z says, because the badge was so hard to get in the UK, once the allotted 500 went on eBay, that was it. And there's another thing too. How would you feel if you did that though? Maybe the Americans have had their chance to get it, but maybe redo it again for the European and Australian market because they never got it.
Well, if you're going to do it for everybody. Don't leave people out, because there might be some people in the States that haven't got it, and they might not be wanting to pay $1,000 or $2,000 for a sail barge. Do you know what I mean? It's I'd do it for everybody.
Oh, so I have some breaking news right here.
I haven't seen this picture.
So of the lovely Georgie. Thank you, Georgie. Georgie just sent me this.
Oh, wow.
Looks like you're holding a big butterfly, doesn't it? Look at that. That's absolutely brilliant. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Georgie. That is awesome. Send me that. Brilliant. Paul James in the past, can we please not mention the Death Star? It's too soon.
So it helps.
Right, well, there's your honourable mentions out of the way. Let's get to your top 5s. Right, Martin, I've got you big. So what is your top 5, buddy?
Okay, so it's a group of autographs that I've got for my top 5. But just to give you a bit of backstory, I'm going to hold this up. Now, this is an event that took place in 2013-14, and this is the actual leaflet for it, in a little town hall in Cheshunt in Hertfordshire. And these were the days where Star Wars conventions didn't happen, especially in the UK. So it was a tiny little village hall that it took place in. And a young 14-year-old Martin took himself on the train to his first ever Star Wars convention. And it had all these actors here that for 14 years of my life, I would never dream that I would get to meet, from my favorite film franchise of all time. And I was on my own, as I say, and, as a lot of people, back in those days, didn't really travel too far on the train, at least in my area, on their own. So I was a bit nervous about going, but it turned out to be perhaps one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in terms of Star Wars, and pretty much cemented what I do now in terms of collecting and, what I enjoy going to and everything. And so while I was there, I picked these autographs up. So I
look
picked
at the names that are there. There's some big characters there.
This is actually the event the year after. I went to 2 events. I never kept the leaflet from the first year, so this is just sort of to represent the event itself. The year I went, there was Jeremy Bullock, obviously, you know, Boba Fett, classic.
Yeah.
There was Bruce Bower, who played General Rykin, which, you know, I've not seen many of his autographs around, to be honest with you. There was Warwick Davis, obviously there as well, and there was Dermot Crowley, who played General Maydean. But there was also the OG Mon Mothma, and there's a little story, and this is the reason. This is, you know, long story short, this is the reason I picked this as my number 5. Warwick Davis in 1994, 93, whenever it was probably still quite young. He's probably his early 20s by then, and he was just as mischievous as he is now, as we see him when we see him at conventions and everything. So he asked, we're all watching the panel, and all the actors that I've just showed you up on the panel, and he just whispered in the ear of Carolyn Blakeston something, and no one knew what it was. And she turned to the audience, stood up with her microphone, and said, "Many Bothans died to bring us this information." And I'm tearing up a bit now because I can still remember it. I've got pictures that I can't find of the event, photographs, and that was it. I was a 14-year-old who pretty much lived his dream at that moment, and you know, I've always been a Star Wars fan since I was 1, maybe 2, and that was my first ever experience of meeting the actors and, you know, seeing stalls, and BOE would have loved it. There was vintage Kenner Star Wars and Palatoy figures for like a tenner, you know, carded ones, you know. Of course, I didn't have the foresight once again to buy any of them, but I was only 14. It was just such a great event, and that little pile of autographs probably, as I said to you, represents probably one of the greatest days I ever had as a Star Wars fan.
Especially through 14-year-old eyes, because we think we're big fans of it now. What were we like back then? It was our lives, wasn't it, back then? You know, it was everything about it. Wow, man. That's awesome. It's funny because I know Georgie and Stu, you get your autographs as well, don't you? And I've got a couple here, but I've never been all out. But sometimes I wish I had done. You know, when you see Super
the
Awesome.
Thing is, back then, when Martin was young, and with the first one I went to at Sandown, I met Ray Park and Jerome Blake and a couple of others, Roxanne Dawson. They were really, really relatively quite affordable. They weren't trying to price people out. You know, you could have your photograph taken for absolutely nothing. It was what, £20 for an autograph back then, you know. And I think so. The crikey, what did you say yours was, Martin?
That event, it was 1993. The first one, 94, was the one on that leaflet. But I went to
2 years ago.
So I would have been 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
I mean, honestly, it was such a good day, and you know, I'm glad I picked it, because I was a bit worried, my mind was put to rest when Stu said there was a story behind all of his, and, you know, an emotional connection. And that's one of the ones.
No, that's the thing. Sometimes we think that, don't we? We've had people on Tub Thumpers that say, "Oh, it should be," but it's never boring. It's always interesting.
Well, you met people, Shabs, haven't you? I mean, you know, you met the girl who played Gem and stuff like that. So
we all love that. I mean, the fact that she
you still wait.
But it's funny though, isn't it? Because I don't really get intimidated by people. I'm not look at that. But sometimes you do. I've got to be honest. You do meet people that you've looked up to for years, and you know, they're in your art of things, you've collected things, you've watched, that you just make you go, well, no way. And I've had so much flack for being a gem. And then to me, it makes it all worth it. You're like, well, there she is. Do you know what I mean? And the story she was, and that's the thing as well. When she came across how nice she was and so forth, it just makes it even the experience. You know, it's like, you know, Martin's here talking about a story that's over 30 years old, but he remembers it like it was yesterday. So it goes to show it means something, doesn't it?
We kind of touched on the conversation yesterday, didn't we, Martin, when we were talking about meeting celebrities and stuff like that, and like you said, Shabby, you don't normally get like intimidated by people.
No,
neither do I really, because at the end of the day, they're just human beings, aren't they? You know.
Yeah.
But the one person that I did feel really nervous about when I met her for the first time was the girl who played Caprica 6 in Battlestar Galactica. I can't remember her name. What's her name?
Trisha Helfer.
That's it. I saw her and she sat down and Georgie was next to me, and I was like, oh, like that, because I thought, ding dong sort of thing. And then I went and had a photograph with her, and she is I would say she's tall. Most people are taller than me, as we know, but she was really tall, and she was just so lovely. And I said, "Oh, thank you so much. Take care and all that sort of stuff." And she walked up, and I walked off, and she went, "Oh," like that, and I was like, "Oh." Do you know what I mean? She's the only one that's made me feel proper.
I think the only person I would ever be dumbstruck like Naomi Campbell. If I ever met Naomi Campbell,
Really?
I would. Oh, I have fancied her since I was 18. Do you know what I mean? She's been my number one since I was a kid, and I just think she's mega beautiful and classy and all that. And I think I ever met her. Come on, she's Shabby with his shorts up to his nipples, and it wouldn't really cool, would it? My name's Shabby. That tells you everything. I wouldn't know what to say. I'd be like, oh, I have no idea. I'd be a moron, But apart from that, I'm not. I think I've met people though through the job I used to have, the suits and so. I met loads of sports stars and celebrities and all that. So, and I've got to be honest, when me and Si grew up, there was always stars in Blackpool, at the pantomimes and at the thing and that. So they've always been around me. It was always things like Russ Abbott, Cannonball, but you know what I mean. It was. I think that's what it was. But
just thinking a few years' time, Shabs, it could be PGM at the Blackpool Pier.
Well, you never know. Or you lot, you know what I mean. The bigger you lot get, I'm like, I know all these.
No chance.
That's not a butterfly. That's a massive moth coming out. T says, I thought George had a picture of Stu's part with a for sale sign. Charming. Smith Law, this is going to be good. He said, I like my plastic crack as much as the next guy, but 1,500 nick on a cell barge is lunacy to me. I'd rather have 1,500 penny sweets, but don't go checking us out crap at maths. Yeah. Here we go. Same Smith Lord. 15-1 for one item makes me feel sick. All comes down to it, doesn't it, really, in financials and if you really want it and so forth. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it comes to. Because there's loads of stuff I would like, And I'm like,
believe you me, it made me feel sick as well, Luke, especially when I found out I had to pay the extra for the shipping and the postage and packaging. Or the
let me ask you both the question. Is there something that you've... I mean, I know we know the story about the droids A-wing and so forth, and that's fine. But on a serious, is there something that you've had to walk away from? You've had to go, it's just too much. Do you know what I mean? I can't do it. So, what's your experiences on that?
The droids A-wing.
I do. Sorry, mate. I do.
That's all right.
I saw a graded box, Return the Jedi Imperial shuttle. That. I had to walk away from it. I mean, I'm not even going to say how much it was because it was a lot, and I kept going past it and looking at it, and I could have completely spanked the credit card and got it, but it would have been a complete waste. It would have been a complete waste of money. I think it would have been overpriced because again, it's something I've never really seen before.
Yeah,
and I don't regret not getting it after speaking to Keith. I'm so glad I didn't get it because Keith put me right on the actual price of it. But it kind of has always been in the back of my mind now as a grail piece that I would love to get one day. Is not necessarily graded, but an Imperial shuttle. I'd love to get an Imperial. I'd love them to do a HasLab Imperial shuttle.
Yeah.
If they did that, I think I might have to go. So I guess what I want for my birthday. Do you know what I mean? I think, What about you, Stu? It's the A-wing, is it? Or
it is. I mean, again, people are going, "Oh, you're mad," and it's no different from the the Power of the Force model. No, I know it's the same sculpt. I know that, and the same mold and whatnot. But it's just the fact that it was the original one back in the in the day and stuff like that, and it was in the Kenner one. And it had that awesome droids box and stuff like that. So no, I mean, one day, who knows? But at the moment, there's other things that need to be. I
think it's because our thing we are fickle. We all are because we'll go for months. This is coming out and it's brilliant. I can't wait for it. And we've pre-ordered it, we've bought it, and this and that. And we go, and it gets to your house, and you go, whoa, that's awesome. You put it on the shelf, and you're immediately on to the next thing. Sometimes I've had to take a step back, me, and go, do I really want to spend that much money that or something to be on my shelf? And within 30 seconds of getting it, I'll admire it, then I'll go on to the next thing. Do you know what I mean? So that's some of the reasons why I've done it. But I think when you get to it's like. Mine were always relatively easy, not mega price. I've always had lovely people that've got it, like the Imperial Shuttle, which is right there that John Labpulse got for me, and the Skywarp that I loved. I mentioned that, and Andy got me, little things like that. And Scuba Pete's done it a few times, and you know, the way Si did the Attorney and that kind of thing. I've been quite lucky in that sense, but you know, I always say to myself, and the thing about it, I don't know about you two, is my favorite thing ever about this whole thing that we do is the flea markets and the estate sales and you never know what you're going to find. And I always say to myself, one day this will be. And I found
that's a very good segue into my first top 5.
Oh,
but I like the way you did that, unbeknownst to you. But yeah, that's kind of like segued into my my top 5. Yeah, awesome.
Let me just catch up with the chat.
Yeah, no, top
5. Great number 5, Martyn. What lovely memories. Smithlow said, we obviously had different dreams, Martyn, at 14. Man, we're all Yasmin Police and a can of squeak.
I was a late bloomer.
Don't worry, I only charged 20.
What's this for Dustin? For Dustin, yeah.
Thanks for setting off Shabby with his gem story again, Stu. Well,
it's all right. It's a beautiful story.
I bet you would be a bit nervous, Stu, if you came face to face with Frank LeBeouf.
No, I think he'd be nervous coming face to face with me, Adam, if I'm honest.
George Aiken said, I was at Comic Con and David Carradine from Kill Bill gave me dirty looks every time I walked past. Why? TJC's the only famous signature I have is David. I've got his too. We met him at Burnley Star Wars Day years ago. Me and Si was a lovely old bloke, really nice.
A nice guy, yeah.
And it was only 25 quid. And that's the thing. It's funny, isn't it? You're getting these characters now that are charging 120. That's Darth Vader. You can't, you know, you've got it dirty. I mean, I know he fell out with them and so forth, but still, I thought for that price. Hi, Dario. Nice to see you, buddy.
Hello, mate.
Let's have a look. An ungraded Imperial shuttle is about 900 quid. So a graded one will double depending on the grade, I bet. I bet it will. Yeah. I mean, hang on a minute. Is Martyn going to offer those sweets out? I can't get any new Star Wars because at retails they don't get them in. There you go. Hey, chocolate chip. Nice to see you, buddy. And the gem story is truly outrageous. And on that note, we'll get to your top 5, Stu. What's the number 5?
Right. So you talking about thrift fairs and jumble sales and stuff like that and car boots. Now, well, they're in no order, but my first in the top 5, it's like a collection of number 1s sort of thing. It's the first.
Okay.
So the first one, if I just, oh my god, is the first time I've ever had
that
this.
thing. Yeah.
The first Star Wars vehicle, vintage kind of Star Wars vehicle I got when I started collecting again. And Georgie bought me this. Now she found this at a car boot sale.
It doesn't get the love, does it?
£2.50. £2.50. It's insane. Brilliant. And so there was a couple of bits missing. The back cannon was missing, so I'm just going to take that off. So I sourced that on eBay. That was 25 quid. The cannon itself, so it was mental. But all the stickers are practically the same stickers, the original stickers and stuff like that. I did have to get a couple more because some of them were too far gone for me to be able to like salvage and fix up and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I just think this is great. And so this vehicle here is the first kind of Star Wars vehicle that I got when I started collecting again. And like I say, this is from Georgie, so she got me this.
Means even more.
£2.50 is mental.
I just don't think it gets the love, the Rebel Transfer. I love that vehicle.
It's a great vehicle. And so my first Star Wars figure that I got, because I had about 2 or 3 collections which I collected over the years, then I just moved on and stuff like that for certain reasons. But I thought, you know what, I want to make a proper effort of like getting the vintage Kenner 96. So the first figure that I got was this guy here, Dengar. And I think he's very underrated. He is in such great condition. I just love this figure.
Yeah,
I think
I agree with that one.
Superb. So from then on, I started getting everything else. And because of this figure here and that vehicle there is the reason why I've got everything around me now. So these are my 2 firsts. And ironically, another first is this VCO1. And it just happens to be Dengar. I mean, that card is such a quality card. So I got this sent over from the States. I paid a pretty penny for it, but the guy who packed it and sent it over did a fantastic job. The card is absolutely mint. It's a fantastic card. I just love this character, and he's VCO1. So for him to be VCO1, Dengar to be my first vintage Star Wars Kenner figure when I started collecting again, mental. Yeah, so happy about that.
100% agree. 100% agree. Brilliant. That's an awesome top 5. I got the Rebel Transporter as a kid. I think it was when they were selling off Star Wars vintage stuff on the cheap. It was all about 1987. It was about 1987. Me and my mate had gone off Star Wars by then. It's funny.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why I could never do a top 5 when it comes to Star Wars toys, because that's one thing I will definitely say. You pick your top 5 vehicles, and the week after it's a different top 5, completely different.
Yeah.
And you always, you'll pick like it. I mean, the first ones you think of is Slave One or the X-Wing and the Falcon, but then you look at the Rebel Transport, you think, no, that was just that got as much play as my Falcon did,
But compared, I mean, this was like easily affordable compared to the barge.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not all about the money side of things, the value of things and stuff like that. I don't click for that. The fact that Georgie, we'd not long been going out, went and had a look at a car boot sale and stuff like that, and found that and brought it home for me. It's just the thought in itself. So of course that's one of the first things that Georgie bought me as well. So I'm over the moon with that, and that's just, I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And so that, and Georgie is basically responsible for everything that you see around me and in all the other rooms that we've got. So cheers, love.
So it was all Georgie's fault.
Yeah.
Were the big deals for you, the vehicles as well as the figures as kids? They were me.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, who couldn't have a Millennium Falcon?
Yeah,
Gary Moore, obviously. Sorry, Gary, but
I don't think I had one. Did he? I don't think. Did you have one, Martin?
Do you know what, Shabby? Not a hard luck story, but we were quite hard up when I was growing up, and I didn't own one Star Wars vehicle. I just had figures. And I often think that the reason that I'm like I am now is because I'm making up those years that
I agree. It's funny that, because when you've got the money in your pocket, you do. I think that's why I do things like Ghostbusters and Transfer. I mean, I had them all as a kid, but now you've got that opportunity to go, I can get them again. So no, I completely agree with that.
But then again, Martin, you only predominantly collect the figures. You don't really collect the vehicles. Is that probably something related to your childhood, not having the vehicles? They don't mean as much to you as the figures do.
Well, the thing is, I used to own about 10 to 15 boxed Kenner vehicles about 10 years ago, quite good condition ones. But I kind of got into this zone where if I can't display it, I don't really want it in sitting in a garage or in a box gathering dust. So I actually moved those on about 5 or 6 years ago. But as we discussed yesterday, I regret that massively, and I would like to perhaps go back to that again in the future. I wouldn't collect modern vehicles unless they're HasLabs. Okay. But I would love to go back and collect all the old Kenner vehicles. Absolutely.
Which is funny, I love because you get all the model figures. So I would have. You just assume, don't you, where you got all the TVC vehicles as well as all the figures? Yeah,
no, I don't. I sometimes buy the vehicles, take the carded figure out, and then sell on the vehicle just to try and get a bit of money back, because I am predominantly just after the car backs. But to be honest with you, I do like the TVC vehicles, but they don't mean as much to me as the card backs. Every time I look behind me and any of the stuff you see, it just takes me back to opening Return of the Jedi figures on Christmas Day in 1984. And I just love the look of those card backs. The design is just the best design, as far as I'm concerned, that's ever been on toy packaging. So it's the thing that I absolutely love the most. Whereas the vehicles, I don't know, I just don't have a connection with the vehicles, the modern ones anyway. But as I say, I would like to go back to the old Kenner ones at some point. If I
the thing is, they do take up a lot of space, don't they, Shabs, the vehicles?
They do. What I've done in mine, if I make myself big, you can see just in corner, there's all my vintage Star Wars. Nice. And obviously, but a few of the vehicles, our size got a few of them, and B, I haven't put the big ones out. For exactly what you just said, when you're a collector like us, like, space is our enemy, innit? I mean, it's so you've got to tone it down a little bit and go from there. Can I just say as well, there's nearly 60 people here, so wow. Thank you. Awesome. That's what happens when you get legends on. Do you know what I mean? I can do like myself. I didn't mean you two. Sorry.
Sorry.
Absolutely brilliant. The old Kenner Palatoy vehicles, loose or boxed, Martin?
I'd like to get them boxed, but I think I'd be happy if I had like Shabby's got behind him a wall where I could have them on shelves. I'd be more than happy to have those ones loose, definitely.
Yeah, I know Barker does it. Jeff Barker and Andy Olaconos, they get the boxes and they display the boxes on walls, and it looks really good because of the artwork. The artwork's all, the photography on those old Star Wars boxes, they're iconic.
Yeah,
so it would be dead nice, but I'm quite lucky because the Star Wars collection I got before the massive boom, I got everything really before 2010. Do you know what I mean? Most of it I've had since I was a kid, so my figures are always complete and so forth. And we were from a family that, same as yours in a way, Martin. I wasn't getting treated to toys every week. So Christmas, I think that's why I talked to your stuff about this, why I'm such a big Christmas fan, because Christmas, my mum made sure that 4 lads had a great Christmas, you know, and stuff like that. So I appreciated my stuff that I had as a kid, and I think that's where my love for it comes from. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Always having great Christmases and birthdays and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
There. Let's have a look. Connor, my old mucker, says, Keith. Hey, Keith, and a massive thank you for making me open my phone early up to reply to you. There you go. Anyway, let's get to number 4. Right, Stu, you're big, so what's number 4?
Ooh. Right, okay, so cast your mind back to 2020 when the world went to shit and we didn't really do anything. So this, I love this. So my part of my top 5 is this beauty.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is, I restored this. So I got this and it was just a shell and I got it for about £40.
Such a cool shit, that's awesome.
It didn't have it, so it's all genuine parts apart from the fins at the back that go on the you know, the thing with the red, white and blue on there. Yeah. They're the only things that are not knockoffs, repro, and that's because A, they cost an absolute fortune to get if they're original parts, and B, it's very, very difficult to get them in great condition because I know that these broke quite a bit.
And the fact that it's Action Force, not T.I. Joe, is
yeah. That's why I did it, because Action Force was what we had in the UK. So I didn't realise that they did 2 colours of this. One was like an olive green, and I think there was a different tone of green as well. So I had to make sure that I got all the correct parts, the same colour, to do this. This took me about 5 or 6 months to do during 2020. And I had so much fun restoring this. I just think it's, I took it all to pieces. I scrubbed all the parts that I had at the time. Come with the bundle. I gave it a polish and all that sort of stuff. The stickers, again, I got some more stickers for it and stuff like that, and just replaced the ones that couldn't be saved. But other than that, it's like I say, other than the tail fins at the back, they're all original parts.
How hard was it to get all the parts? Was it hard? Was it, because they're fragile, the parts on that, aren't they?
It took a while. It really did take a while. I mean, I've got these missile launchers. They're pointed down at the moment because they're quite fragile as well. So when I got them, they were all in one piece, and they weren't broken. But I think it's starting to come a bit loose this side. So I just want to be really gentle with that. But I absolutely love this. I just think it's such a great vehicle.
It's a pure 80s toy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I never had this as a kid. I can remember going to Toys R Us with a friend of mine, and he bought it one day for his birthday, and I was like, oh, you swine. But yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I've got the little raft inside. I've got the motorcycle on the back.
Is it exactly the same as the Joe one? Exactly the same.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It's just different stickers. It's just Action Force instead of G.I. Joe, and there's no Killer Whale on there. But yeah, I love it. And then what I did as well, I did my first. Let me just take him out. Hey, son of a gun, he's stuck. So I did my first custom. So I got a Shipwreck and 2 cutters. And I just did Shipwreck with his with the top of Cutter's body, and give him a life vest, because health and safety, it gets overlooked and stuff like that. So I did that. But the thing is, what I noticed with this, Cutter's head and neck was a different mold to Shipwreck. So Shipwreck had the sort of like newer head. So I had to sort of like cut away some plastic and that. So his head doesn't move, unfortunately. But it's he's pretty cool. He's got his crotches there. It's all in one piece. The thumbs are there. The coloring's decent. So, absolute stunning vehicle. And I'm just gutted that I don't have anywhere at the moment to display it. So it's in a tub at the moment. So
how are you two for that? Because I am a nightmare for it. I've always turned around, like I've got loads of stuff like a an Ewok village. I've said for years to Pete and I'm going to restore it. And I've only got a couple of pieces to go, but I never do. But I did it with the He-Man.
Yeah.
I've started to collect the vintage Masters Universe, and I've been doing it over the past year. And I've made sure that I bought it, and then if it's something missing, that's the next thing to get to that. But how are you two for restore? Are you quite good at that, or you just leave it?
That's the first one I've ever done. That's the only one I've ever done. So if I had the patience, and the only reason why I had the patience is because we weren't doing anything back in 2020. I was bored out of my head. That's why I did it, and I had such fun doing it. But now, because I'm doing more with the channel, I'm doing other stuff, I'm working as well, I don't think I've got the patience to buy a bit part. And well, I don't know. We'll see what comes around in the future, and we'll see what happens there. And who knows? Maybe I'll get and do another one.
That says we are enjoying picking up the vintage vehicles from fairs and cons loose to help to display my. Yeah, I love stuff like that. Chocolate chip. I mean, this is a guy who knows everything. He's immaculate. VSW vehicle playset boxes are just amazing. They just look
they do.
Yeah. Oh yes, Stu, what a beauty, says Connor.
Yeah.
Smith Lord says, how many My Little Ponies, gem dolls, and bars of Summit Gold are going to be in these top fives? Adam says, yeah, the whale. I prefer the Hasbro Action Force sticker version. I know I'm anti-Palatoy. I loved Action Forces. Did you ever get into that, Martin? Action Force?
Do you know what? I was mildly aware of it, but I was Star Wars. Even back then, I didn't play with anything else at all. It was always Star Wars. Transformers, I had a mild dabble with, but I had Galvatron, I think it was one of the ones I had, and the red Porsche, I can never remember his name.
There's two Lamborghini, Sideswipe.
Sideswipe, Sideswipe, yeah, that was it. But I was mostly Star Wars.
Floats in the back too, but I think if our side probably remember, I think we had this huge one for the Action Man 12-inch, the hovercraft for that. I remember that. I don't remember having the tank and the sidecar and the bike and but I think we had that. But it's very vivid to me. So if Side probably's got a better memory than I.
Well, they were huge. They were, weren't they? Those.
I loved all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like I've said, that's one of the things that baffles me the most, because I just simply have no recollection or memory of G.I. Joe as a kid at all. It's only until I got older and I saw the lads and all that sort of stuff. And to go back, especially when you go to these conventions, you'll see things like that or what Scuba's got, and you're like, oh man, I'd killed for all that Joe stuff. I'd killed for it. Anyway, Martin, what's your number 4, pal?
Okay, I'm just going to take this out of its case very gently. Bear with me. Okay, now this is one of those holy grails for vintage collectors, and this is VC20. The Canadian 2010 Canadian Yoda.
Wow.
Unpunched as well, which is very, very rare. I picked this up about 4 years ago, and again, it was one of those pieces I never for a million years thought I'd be able to get in my collection. But I managed to get in touch with a chap who lived in Finland, and he was selling his collection off, and he gave me the most amazing deal on this beauty. I mean, I don't know really what else to tell you. You know, if you don't know about the Canadian Yoda and you're not a vintage collection, it's totally understandable. But for someone who collects it, it's one of those pieces, and it's absolutely immaculate. As you can see, it's not got a blemish on it.
So what makes that special then, Martin?
Well, okay, so it's got the Empire Strikes Back image on it. It's got the Return of the Jedi logo, but it's got the Revenge of the Sith Yoda actual toy inside of it, a figure. Now, originally Hasbro were going to release this on an Empire card, but they decided to release the Revenge of the Sith Yoda. So the actual VC20 proper came out with the Revenge of the Sith image on, but for some reason the Canadian factory that was making these didn't change the card image straight away, and they also botched the name, the logo as well. So there's I'm not going to say there's not many of these, but there's not a huge amount, and it makes it probably the most sought after variant in the vintage collection. As you can see, it's got the Canadian, writing in the bubble, language in the bubble. Yes, so. Yeah, I mean that's about it, really, Shab. That's all I can tell you now.
No, I find it interesting. There's a few lads in the chat that are loving it, so they must know definitely.
Yeah, there is one variant that also has the same image with the same with the incorrect logo and the wrong figure in, and that was an American carded vintage collection figure. And from what I've researched, there's only 24 known of those available in the world. So
Wow.
that's probably the most sought after vintage collection card back, but we're talking multiple thousands to pick up one of those. So
Jeez, really?
unless you've got big boy money, you know, you have to settle with the Canadian, I think. But
Wow.
as I say, this is probably one of my most prized possessions. And as Stuart said, it's not because it's monetary value, it's because when you start collecting a line, and you know, like I did back in 2000 and 2009, 2010, and you hear all this lore about this, you know, this figure that's really difficult to come by, and you're never going to get it, you're never even going to see one probably. And then just like Jeff did with his Star Wars Kenner figures, you know, you all of a sudden this situation out of blue comes along where you'll be able to pick up this figure. And yeah, I mean, it gets kept in this case. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, send it off to be graded," but there's just no way I'd be too scared. Yeah, no.
Open it.
Yeah, open it.
After all that, open it. Oh,
there's no way I would risk sending that in the post.
Is it hard for you both to explain to your eyes this? Because you have to go through that. Now, if you told that also, I said, hang on a minute, a vintage collection's only $20, but you gave me that story. Me and Stu go, yep, completely understand. But do your eyes ever go, hang on a minute, why is this 4 times more than another one? Or do they understand? You know, because my wife takes a piss at me about mega rare and vintage car back and this and that. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you know, you all know Steph, and you know how chilled out she is, and she's like really, I'm really lucky. She's incredibly supportive, and she knows if you come across one of these once in a lifetime things, that and if you can do it, then you should do it, because you regret not doing it if you don't.
Yeah,
and
she knows who you are. So in other words, the reason you're going to talk to her about something like that is, and then so she gets the picture, because you're not doing that with everything you buy, are you? So when
no, it's just a big piece, you know, just a rare big piece that, you know, you know, again, mentioning the San Diego Comic-Con set, Stu mentioned that I came out of Adam. What he didn't mention was I went straight to Steph and discussed it with her first. Because you know it's some, you know, it's one of those decisions you have to make together. It's not one of those decisions that I can walk out with that and then she gives me the look. How much did that cost? Where did you get that from? You know, so it's probably best to, you know, get in there first and just make sure that it's okay. So yeah, no, I'm very lucky. Yeah,
I've got to say the same with Georgie as well. I think because Georgie collects as well, so and she's come from a family who collects, whether it's like dolls' houses and stuff like that. So I think Georgie doesn't know the sort of like the ins and outs of different figures and what's rare and what's not rare. The thing is, every parcel that comes through, I'm telling her it's a rare piece, so I had to get it. So that sort of like wears a bit thin after a while. But no, she's cool. She's very supportive and very relaxed about it.
Martin, you have nothing to fear about sending that figure for grading. Just ask Andy. Poor Andy's never going to live that down.
I know.
Mr. B says, how many figures has Martin played up to Stephanie? It's rare. Yeah, I know that feeling straight away. Brilliant. Star Wars, because it is. That's in his Jonah voice. Brilliant, boys. Then up to top 4. We're up to number 3. Right, so this time, Martin, I've got you big. So what is your number 3, buddy?
Okay, so I don't know if you can see that picture there. There's a young 13 coming in up 14-year-old Martin sat in front of the Star Tours ride at Hollywood Studios, or MGM Studios as it was known back then. And if you can just look up there, you'll be able to see the sign. And here is probably a better picture. There's the sail barge they used in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, wow.
And just up there is the advert for the Star Tours ride. And in that picture, you'll see the Star Speeder 3000. Now, as you know, Disney's a huge part of my life. I love Disney. Steph and I love going to Disney. But if you can imagine what it was like, again, just like the convention that I was talking about earlier, I've loved Star Wars my entire life. I'm 14 years old, and I get to go to Florida for the first time, and I get to sit in this vehicle, the Star Speeder, and I get to go. It's a simulator basically, and I got to go in it and experience what it would be like to fly around the galaxy of Star Wars with X-wings and a Star Destroyer, and my mind just went crazy. So
At 14,
yeah. So when this came out last year, and I know we've seen it already, but I had to show it as my top five. The Star Speeder 3000 came out. Now I haven't got it plugged in, so I can't show you. But on the inside, and only one showed this a lot better than I will. It's got a screen inside, and it actually replicates the same ride that I rode on in 1993 or 4, or whenever it was. And as soon as they announced this toy, I knew I had to get it, and it was incredibly difficult to get hold of, especially if you're in this country. And I have to. I've said thank you to him many times, but I'll say thank you to Matt for Matt's collection once again, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be standing here right now with this. And
he did a good video on it too, didn't he, Matt's collection?
Yeah, he got one as well. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't open stuff. We've made that quite clear so far this evening. People know me that I opened this straight away. It wasn't even a thought. I got it out. I've filled the seats up. I've played the video footage on the inside of it, because it's actually got the same LCD screen they used.
So cool, yeah.
It's a pretty boring looking vehicle, but as I say, when you go back and you look at that picture and you see in the background there it is on that sign, it just, again, it's just nostalgia. It just takes me back to that first time I was in that shop on that ride, and I must have ridden it 3 or 4 times in a row. And my dad was like, "Oh, you're going on it again, and they all knew how much I love Star Wars, and they just kind of left me to it. It was so sorry, I'm warbling, but
no, not at all, mate, not at all.
Awesome.
I remember, because Only One's got the other version of it as well, like one that was for years back. And what it does to me is it just opens that old debate up again about HasLabs, because when you see that thing with the lights and the little stuff it does, and the video in it, it makes you think, doesn't it? And that was about $200 cheaper on it as well than a HasLab.
Yeah, I've ordered the Star Speeder 1000, which should be here later on this year, as well as I think Only One got it as well.
Yeah.
I should mention, actually, that holiday that I was on, my cousin Adam came out with me on that holiday, and just as a twist of fate, him and his 2 sisters and his dad, my uncle, and my dad and my sister, and we all went on a big family holiday. It was there's so many memories I hold from that holiday, and just because we went to all the theme parks on that 2-week holiday, and of course they purposely made me wait until the last couple of days until we went to MGM Studios, and I didn't care about anything else. The Jaws ride was good, to be fair, but I couldn't be. I just wanted to get to MGM Studios so I could stand in front of that AT-AT, that full-size AT-AT, and get on that ride. And it means so. That Star Speeder, I know it looks boring. It is a boring-looking vehicle, but it's nostalgia, and it means a lot to me. So that's why it's my number 3.
It's funny that again it wasn't done. Because of Disney, even yes, it's set in America and I think there's Hong Kong and Paris, but it's a worldwide thing. So for that not to be available to everybody, it's funny that, isn't it?
It was a D23 exclusive. So D23 is Disney's sort of version of Celebration, Star Wars Celebration, and I think they only had 2,000 available. Oh, and that also, actually, you got this with it as well, which was a carded Rex figure.
Right.
And it was mentioned when Only One was on. They're numbered on the back, and I think I got the only one that I know of that hasn't actually been numbered. Oh, 3,000. So I've got the only one that I know of that hasn't actually got a number next to the 3,000.
That's right. Yeah, they were saying. Yeah, that's crazy.
That means anything, but I think Matt said quickly scribble in a 1.
I wouldn't. I'd leave it as that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you also got a loose figure as well, didn't you? So you got Rex carded and Rex loose within that vehicle piece.
As well. Yeah.
Wow.
Do you think going forward they should do that with HasLabs? They should have the carded figures and then the figures loose as well.
That would be amazing. I've got Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's on the ride in 1993. That's C3PO in there. He talks to you as you walk in. He's still there now, but slightly updated. And there was Mon Calamari sitting in a control center as you walk in. 14, Return the Jedi being such a great film to me, and I walk in and there's Admiral Akbar with one of his brothers, up in the control tower, and I'm just like, yeah.
I'm the same way too. I've never been to Galaxy's Edge, and I've got really my kids aren't really banging to Star Wars, but I know the minute I see that Falcon, I'd be like, I'd turn into 8 all over again. I know I would.
That is a feeling and a half in it, Martin. When you walk around that corner at Galaxy's Edge and you've got the full size Falcon there, it's just like.
Does it hit you, Stu? Yeah. Does it like?
It does. It really does. And do you know what? I think it's all right to get emotional because you've grown up with this property and franchise since you were a kid. And what's the one thing you always wanted to do as a kid? And that is pilot the Millennium Falcon. Well, now you can. It's just insane. It really is. And the feeling you get when you see it, it's like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
When you see the Millennium Falcon for the first time in Galaxy's Edge, it's akin to when E.T. started playing with the orchestra yesterday. Yeah. And in your mind, you can hear the asteroid theme playing from Empire Strikes Back as you're walking towards a full-size, accurate Millennium Falcon. It's something every Star Wars fan has to experience at least once into their life if they can. It's incredible.
Absolutely brilliant, man. TJC said Georgie collects little figures. Stu was her first pickup. Very nice, is it, Stu? Tony says my wife is anything but supportive. I said I went in detail, and she told me to fuck off. Brilliant. Kevin Balls ponders. How can Stu's toys be rare when he has multiples? Poor Georgie. You have a thing for that, don't you, Stu? Getting multiples, you?
Yeah. Well, I get one or two of everything. Yeah. Sometimes it's by. Actually, I know what I'm doing, and other times I just haven't got a clue. I don't even know what day of the week it is most days. You know what I mean?
That's why I stopped pre-ordering. I thought, forget that. The only thing I do now is like that Mattel Creations. Other than that, forget it. Strict, don't tell him I'm married when it comes to boxes arriving at the door with collectibles in them. Nothing to see. See those legs? I thought that was a photograph of Steph. Hang on a minute. Oh, he's showing his sexy legs alongside his cousin. There you go, Adam. Yeah. Seeing those legs, or we just saw that one. Let's have a look. No thanks necessary. It was a pleasure to open another collector. That was awesome of him, though. The Star Speeder 3000 was 350 quid, which was the same price as the Razor. And look how much more. You know what I mean?
Mental.
I remember that Star Wars ride so well. My favorite too that holiday. There you go. I should have switched boxes. In 2019, we took the kids to Disneyland for the first time. Collins thought the animatronics were real. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Especially, and like I said, when you see it as a kid, it just sticks with you. Like Martin was saying, it just sticks. Yeah. Definitely a loose and carded figure for HasLabs, our desk says, thinking about the Tonica sisters. No picture does justice to see the Falcon in Galaxy. I bet it doesn't. I bet you're exactly right. To see something like that, something that we've loved and it's cemented in us, to see it actual, big like awesome. That, I can imagine. I'm sat here and I can afford to do it. I've just been convinced that I need to go to Galaxy's Edge. They asked you.
It's worth going. I mean, I know there's a lot of people say, oh, well, it's a prequels and stuff like that, or the sequel, should I say. But take the fact that it's the sequels out of the equation. Just go there, get immersed in the area, and just let your imagination run wild. It can be any time period you want. I mean, I know you see some like First Order Troopers walking about and stuff like that, but it's immersive and it's worth going just for the experience. It really is.
Wow. Well, I'd just like to say before we get to Stu, show number 3 we're doing now, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Before we get to Stu number 3, we've got 60 people again all night, an hour and 40 minutes. So
awesome.
Thank you all so much. That means the world to us. So cheers for supporting me, Stu and Martyn. I appreciate that. Stu, what's your number 3, pal?
Right. Well, so as you all know, I do this series called My Collecting Life, and I used to not get upset, but I used to have like a little tug of the heartstrings when people say that they got toys from their childhood, because that's all because I never had any of my toys from my childhood. They all went missing and stuff like that, or they got moved on and stuff. So I mean, I had toys from the 90s, but I don't really class that as childhood because that was by the time that I was like sort of collecting again. So I didn't count those. It was 80s toys that I played with. So I got a phone call one day or a WhatsApp message, and it was from my dad, and he said, "Do you want these?" And I looked at the picture and I was absolutely bloody right I do. And he messaged me saying, I'm down the tip. I was just about to throw him away. So this is my childhood Skeletor.
I was gonna
He's
throw
been
them
up
away.
in the loft. He is in absolute fantastic condition. I love this. It is absolutely cool. The only thing that's been replaced on it are the rubber bands in the legs.
Yeah.
He's had a new head. He's had a new staff, new arms, and a new sword. But other than that, he's my original
Other than
one.
that, he's spotless.
Trigger's
Yeah,
broom.
yeah. No.
Trigger's broom, yeah.
He is my original Skeletor.
And your
And
dad
he's
was
an
going to throw them
absolute-
out. He was like,
Yeah, he didn't bother looking at the box. He just went up in the loft, saw these boxes, took
Yeah.
them, put them in the car, got down to the dump, and thought, "Oh, I better have a look." I would have cried if I'd have. Well, I wouldn't
I'd have
know, would I?
cried.
But
Because now you're speaking
you know
about
what?
language, vintage Motu, brilliant.
yeah, I mean, so now I can say I have, and I've got another 1 or 2 figures as well that are in the box as well. I clean them up and give them the new rubber things in the legs. They have a pain to get in on those rubber bands
Them
for the legs.
dumbbells,
Absolute pain.
yeah.
But wow, I mean, he is in absolute immaculate condition. And now I can say I've got toys from my childhood, because none of my Star Wars stuff is from my childhood. That's all sort of gone. And that's stuff that I collected over the years from like secondary market or like these toy fairs. But to say that I've now got something in my collection that I had as a kid and I actually physically played with this,
Yeah.
I'm over the moon. And this is thanks to you, Shabby, because seeing you with your Motu and people like Chris Miwa and Scuba Pete and Bob Hanson and people like that, it's just such a fun line to collect. It really
awesome.
is, and I've just absolutely stunning. He's so cool,
and it's
really
so relatively good. I mean, if you're looking at the carded mints on cards, you're looking at expensive. But the nicest thing about vintage Motu, it doesn't break the bank either. So and it was just as common, mass produced as Star Wars, so you can finish off these figures and the accessories.
Well, I just recently went to Sandown, and this original vintage He-Man, and this guy had him for ages, and he wanted to sell him with Battle Cat, but I wasn't too worried about Battle Cat. I just wanted a figure, so
yeah,
I finally ended up picking him up, and it's so cool because I've now got a vintage He-Man as well to go in that collection. So to have the two of them is brilliant, but. It is a fun line, even the Origins line or the Masterverse line.
And it all fits flawlessly. It all fits in. So, yeah. Oh, man, that's awesome. Awesome.
So
does it make you start to go, oh, you know what? Now I've got this. Oh, I found me. My dad's giving me this back. You want to get into it even more?
Yeah. Because, I mean, look, Adam Berry, Heart of Gold, he gifted me the original Snake Mountain.
Yeah.
He said, would I be interested in having it? And I was like, absolutely, yeah. Depends if the price is right. And he said, oh yeah, I got the price. And it was weeks and weeks and weeks, and nothing ever happened. And I'd like, well, okay, I'm not going to push him. But then we went to Sandown Toy Fair one weekend, and he said, I've got something for you. Close your eyes. And he gave me the box, and the Snake Mountain was in there, and I was just like, just blown away. Do you know what I mean? It's just so I've got him standing up on Snake Mountain. It's just so cool, and it's
even the adverts. You look at the adverts, and the adverts. It's funny now because they resonate more with me now because it's about a kid and his dad playing with He-Man. Most of the adverts with his dad being Skeletor, and then obviously the kid defeating his dad, and it's funny now being fathers ourselves. I'm like, oh yeah, now I get this now. Do you know what I mean? And I just loved it. I love He-Man was up there, Masters Universe with Star Wars. Brave Star, Visionaries, Mask. I just loved all that sort of stuff.
I mean,
really interesting.
The thing is as well, so with the figures, they're all the same mold practically, but no one battered an eyelid back in the day, did they?
That's why repaints and repacks don't really mean anything to me, because if you look at everything we did, from Transformers to He-Man, I think the even Joe's a little bit, but Joe's and Star Wars roughly. They kept different molds all the time, but I think that's why I think the only reason I kick off about repaints and molds now is the price that you do repaints and molds for. Do you know what I mean? But back then, He-Man never bothered me for that.
Well, you look at the original G.I. Joe figures that come out in the States around 1982. They all had the same face sculpt. It was just different hair and stuff like that. They all looked the same. But
how many figures were there in the whole
68
original line? 68.
Yeah, I'm up to about 40 of them. So there's a couple of them that are very, very hard to get hold, like the Tustoids and stuff. And then you don't really count the Meteorbs. They did this thing where at the end of the He-Man line, they're throwing anything in to sell it. Do you know what I mean? Oh, well, and you can tell there's a couple of things that were meant to be for other lines that they're putting that one just to keep it going, if you will. But there's about 68, and then things like the Giants you're not going to count. They did these 2 Giants, but they were only sold in Italy, and you're talking thousands to get one of them. But I'm hoping that Mattel Creations, which is their version of how will do the Giants. Do you see what I mean? Then they started to bring dinosaurs in it. It went crazy at the end of it, but yeah, there's roughly about 68 in there. So, but brilliant.
So there's one I've heard of. I've watched a lot of toy videos, and someone talks about a Wonder Bread He-Man. Is that an actual figure? Or is that
it's a He-Man, and it's just got dark hair and it's got dark thing. It's not. They don't actually. It was a mail away figure.
Okay.
And so basically, it was just like Anakin when it was, for Star Wars and Lifeline for G.I. Joe. But they couldn't actually cement it on where this male thing came from, this male away. And so they're thinking it was Wonder Bread. That's why they call him Wonder He-Man, Wonder Bread He-Man. But you're talking hundreds. But all it is, it's the same figure with dark hair. So, Mattel Creations did it a couple of years back, and I've got that. They called it Wonder, and I've got that figure. So they did it in Origins, exactly the same figure with the dark and the dark accessories for that. Cool. But it's a Grail piece for He-Man. That and the Giants, I suppose. Maybe the dinosaurs at the end. They're the big Grail pieces. But some of them you just rare as hen's teeth, because at the end of it they didn't mass produce it as well as they did at the start. So the things like the Twistoids, where they have these half figures and they're just done like spin tops. You pull a thing and it spin around. They're really hard to get hold of. But
see, I'm not big into Motu. I'm not big into Transformers. I'm not big into G.I. Joe. But I love coming on to these kind of things and hearing yourself and other people just chat, because you find out through them. I could quite easily go on to Google and do the research, but I have so much more fun listening to the likes of you, Shabby, talking about things, and Martin and other people. And that's half the enjoyment for me, is learning new things from different people that have got far more knowledge than I've got. It's
completely agree. And I think that's one of the nicest things. It's like when people come on like Martin's, I hope I don't. You never bore collectors, because they're so invested with what you have and your passion for it and your story behind it, that even if it's stuff you don't collect, in a way we collect everything through watching each other's stuff and listening to each other, So, but yeah, He-Man it was a big deal for me, and my emotional story comes from it. It was like I said, when it came again in 2020, I managed to do it with Lucy, my daughter, and she got banging to it, and that's when we was making, and that really meant a lot to me as well. And these figures were so cheap and so mass produced that so when we'd finish the video, she'd sit on the table, and my younger son would come in and they'd play them. Don't mean anything. If they broke it, I'd go out and buy another one, which is really what toys were all about for me, And so, yeah, I love that kind of thing. I really do.
Does she miss not doing it? Does she miss not doing it?
She's got to that age. She's 15. So she's like, you know what I mean? I want to go out with my mates. What, you don't want to play Transformers with your dad? It's not crazy. Suki was the first. Well, Suki's 19. And so she's like, it's so funny as well, because I think it was like last week that me and Suki are making these videos, and now she's going out getting tattoos. It's not really the same girl that wants to sit in and listen to her dad talk about Gem. Do you know what I
mean? To be fair, that's understandable, Shabs, if I'm honest, mate.
Going back to Galaxy's Edge, you say what it's all about, Shabby, but later on that day at Savvy's lightsaber building, Colin was ready to take the fight to the first order. I thought we're going to get it. Come here. Do you know what I mean? The rubber bands were honestly a ball ache to do. Yeah, Toy Ploy does a good video on it with pincers, and he showed how to get them in properly. Yeah. I had an extender that I found at Chromag Toys with Scuba and G-Force, and it was dirt cheap. And Pete said, I've got the rubber bands. So he sent me one, and yeah, you're right. They're a nightmare to get in. Yeah. Things. They really are. When Stu said that about his story, I was so pleased with him. Yeah, exactly right. That's awesome. Stu, very rare Triggers Boom variant skeleton. Triggers Boom variant skeleton.
Yeah, I know. But he's genuinely, it's my childhood figure, just the rubber bands on the legs have been changed.
Totally why I put a Transformer in my top 5. Don't collect it, but it was my childhood toy, and I had to put it in the top 5 for that alone.
Yeah.
Close your eyes, Stu.
Yeah,
Snake Mountain, yeah. Scare Glow is a pricey one. Yep, Scare Glow is another one that's pretty. King Randor is another one that's pricey, and there's a few things. But I suppose, Martin, that's in every toy line. You're always going to find the one things that are either rare to get hold of or hard to get hold of, and that kind of thing. But that's the nice thing about it being in there. For Grayskull, for example, Grayskull has a small pistol, and it's really, really hard to get hold of. Rob's Retro just got hold of a bunch of vintage Motu because he collects it, and he said, Shabby, I've got the pistol for you. I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
That's another thing about being in a community, isn't it? You know, someone will go out and I don't know whether you do it as well. You'll go out and you'll go to a toy. Oh, Stu's looking for that. Or our side needs that and that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
an
definitely,
original
definitely.
fake. Yeah, it's nice. I repair motor all the time. You sure do, Gilster.
Oh, wow.
Got a diecast land speeder coming today. She'll be here by 1:30 according to over 8 hours still not. Well, I gotta wait for you.
Every a great.
Yeah. My mate at the shop has a fake and original one, and it's not overly that much. They can message you at the time if you want their Gilson. Nice one. And I never trust. What's every, boys? I don't know what every is. Is it like
Delivery
a
company?
Oh, you might be waiting for that. Anyway, we're up to number 2.
That's a great picture. I'm surprised you don't let that one play a bit longer.
Sorry.
To be honest.
Why hasn't it got Snooker Loopy playing?
Well, I don't, anyway, I was wondering. I forgot all about. I played that for a few weeks. I realised, he's on this week. Oh, I'll just leave it. That's all right. Stu, I've got you, big mate. So what's your number 2? Pal?
Okay, so my number 2. It like I say, no particular order, but my nan went to the States in the early to mid 80s, and she come back with a toy. And now I'd never seen this toy line before, and I managed to pick one of these up. The same toy fair that I picked up the vintage He-Man. So getting double vintage goodness. I'm over the moon with this. This is my vintage Transformer Jazz. And I managed, he was car mode, so I transformed him very carefully. So a guy called Rob Addison from Tats and Toys sourced me this. He done me a great deal. And I've got to say, I am over the moon.
How white it is.
Not big into Transformers. This is or was the only one I had as a kid, which my nan brought back. And I felt like the cool kid in town because I was the only kid at the time to have one of these because it weren't released in the UK yet. But yeah, it is proper minty white.
It's really white. Because usually you find them that they've gone a bit yellow, which is understandable. The time, that's amazing.
It's got like a little crack in the windscreen, but it's only very slight. But other than that, and I think there's another missile missing, but that's fine. I don't need to. I'm quite happy with it displayed like that. But yeah, I am over the moon with this. And I don't know about you guys, but when you go to a toy fair and you pick stuff up, you get back and you think, I'm really happy with this. But I picked this up with the vintage He-Man, and I think there's something else vintage I picked up as well. Oh, it was the Zartan. And I felt absolutely awesome because it was all vintage stuff. And I just felt, I don't know, it just made me smile and felt so happy getting it. But yeah, this is absolutely incredible. I love this. So I got to thank Rob a lot for this, Rob Addison, and I'm going to be picking up another vintage G1 Transformer from him. I'm going to put this down because it's making me nervous.
One of those that when you talk about Transformers, that's the name you're going to think of. You think of Prime and all that sort of stuff, but Jazz is right up there with them, like the Lamborghinis that Martin was talking about before. There's certain lines in, even if you collect or don't collect, you remember them, and that Jazz is awesome.
Oh yeah,
Gary Moore says, "Pop the reds and screw back." Hiya, Darren. Nice to see you, Darren. Si says, "All hail Megatron." Mr. B says, "Is that a micro machine?" No, it's the G1 one, Mr. B.
No, it's the actual vintage one. Yeah.
Wow! To get it looking like that as well, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the price was under £100, so I was really, really blown away. And he said, "Oh, is that right?" And I was like, "Yeah." But I've never seen one look as good as that. And I mean, he's got a fantastic range as Rob, and you know, he does a lot of good stuff. So yeah, he's a top guy. But I just thought I'd give him a shout out because he really did pull that one out of the bag and stuff like that. So happy about that.
Martin, if you had to pick up a toy now, I know you said the side swipe before, but what, you know, in other words, I know just for like a nostalgia, what toy would it be besides Star Wars?
It would be either, well, it's a choice of two really. It would be either Transformers or WWF, the Kenner WWF figures.
Excuse me.
I only had one or two of those as a kid, but I loved wrestling when I was growing up. I still watch wrestling now, to be honest with you, the WWE wrestling from time to time. But those, I just remember those figures. They were so over the top, weren't they, in terms of how they
especially
looked.
Just being English kids, you see these big brash Americans.
Yeah. And as I've got older, I've come to appreciate the look of the cards. And I have recently looked into try and perhaps start collecting them, but I mean, they're just too much. They're too much money so I think I would either, if I was to pick a line, I'd probably pick that and do them loose.
Yeah.
And when I know you had Steph on Tub Thumpers, and her brother had pretty much, I think it was about 25 G1 Transformers we found in a box.
I know.
And Stu put me in touch with, was it Gogitron?
Gogitron and Boba Hicks, yeah.
Yeah, Boba Hicks. And the three of us worked together to put them all together, all the weapons and everything, and every single one of them was complete. I bagged them all up for him, and I said to him, "Oh, if you ever just want to get rid of these, I'll take them off your hands." And I've never heard a word back since. So.
Yeah, it was probably that Tub and stuff as well, because all the lads are going, "Do you know what you've got there?" And you're going, "Shut up, like that." You know what I mean? But it's funny that as well. You always think that, when you watch I watched a bit of Toy Federation last night. The lads over here. And you go into their back rooms in these toy shops, and you see how messy it is, and how everything. And they always say, "Oh, this needs straightening." Or we'd all do it for free. We'd all go,
absolutely.
Yeah, I'll get that well done. I always do it when I go to Ollie's, because Ollie's they just throw the stuff on at Ollie's, and I always think, pay me nothing. I'll straighten it all up for you. Make it all nice. Brilliant. Anyway, Darren's turned up. Hiya, Darren. APC's here. Hello, Nick. Nice to see you, pal. Catching up for you all. Keith Knight says, "Snooky loopy nuts are we?" Si says, "I think Claire Snooker, she likes me to." Very nice.
Oh my God. No.
Tony C. Larry. 4 points versus. Oh, brilliant. Right, so that's number 2 was Jazz. What's your number 2, Martin?
Okay, this is a 77 back. Mint on card, Princess Leia Organa, combat poncho.
Yeah.
Now, this was a present to me from my mother-in-law. I love my mother-in-law; she's the best. And we basically went to a car show up north somewhere, and I can't remember for the life of me where it was. It was this huge car place in 2009, I think it was, and it had all classic cars and new cars. And then just upstairs, there was this stall randomly there selling vintage Kenner card backs. And I'd only been dating Steph for around about 3 or 4 months. And I instantly said, "Oh my God, look at all those Kenner cars." And I was more interested in spending 3 hours on this stall than actually looking at the cars that were in the car museum. And unbeknownst to me, Steph's mum went off and purchased this for me for my birthday. From the stall. Cool. And
what a great story.
It's amazing. I mean, this I probably would hold mostly responsible for everything you see behind me, because I've always been a Star Wars collector, but I just collected bits and bobs. This basically brought me back to, being an absolutely massive collector. And as soon as I got this, I discovered the vintage collection, and then the vintage collection became, my number one. And I've tried to pick up as many vintage Kenner car backs as I can over time. I picked up some Toy Tonys, but I don't care because they're still the original, figures and cards and bubbles. But these are always really expensive to buy. So I'll only buy them, if there's a good deal to be had. But this one has a special place in my heart because, it was, she didn't have to do that. She didn't have to buy me this at all. And it was an absolutely amazing surprise.
How old? I mean, it's the back of that car back. It's me every time.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing him in bed, crossing them all off, and do you know what I mean? Looking at them.
I tried to replicate that with my graded collection behind, because I love that car back for me. Yeah. Did you used to circle it and do
I've got the only card I've got back since I was a kid is my Luke Skywalker Jedi. The pill's missing, it's battered, and if you turn it on the back, it's all crossed out and all circled the ones it needs, crossed out the ones I already got. So found it and sent it to me, bless him. I couldn't believe it. But that's beautiful. Mr. B's right here as well. That definitely makes it more sentimental and valuable. He's hit the nail on the head, hasn't he, there?
Yeah.
Wow, amazing, says Darren. And Gary Moore says, "That's Martin for this. He's number one, he's not a thing." Do you know what I mean? And Howard Tess says, "The best thing, you can blame it all on the mother-in-law. So the next time Steph kicks off, well, if it wasn't for your mum."
That's a really good point, Des. I never thought of
that. Martin, why isn't Leah in acrylic?
There you go. It's back in as acrylic.
Oh, they
Hurt
are.
acrylic.
Oh, they are. I'll just put it up to Spa, Rob. Make sure. Yeah.
But Gary Moore was saying last week, everything looks better in acrylic,
Oh.
doesn't it? And
Oh,
absolutely, I tend to agree. Yeah.
It's funny because you saw Gup stuff, then you saw Gary's stuff, and it's weird. It just makes it go, whoa, look at that. Do you know what I mean? Now, I've got nothing in it except for one thing. So Andy at Hollow Chronicles, I don't know whether you watched this show where he had all the Boba Fett's and all these Boba Fett's in these acrylic and they had car back in the back. And I just thought that was a really good idea. You can get a loose figure, put it in. And these were specific acrylics with a stand for it. Well, I like to buy something Joe-wise at the Joe Fest, and this year I wanted to get a Flint, and so Andy sent me a really nice vintage Flint card back, and then he sent me that acrylic case, and I thought, wow, and then so I'll have my first thing in acrylic. Do you know what I mean? I am Mudhorn. Nice to see you, pal. What a great mother-in-law. Mine looks like she's constantly chewing her heart off me. Oh, brilliant. Vintage Toy Rush says, but the acrylic glare annoys me. It really does. Hey, Delvian and all that. Tony Z. Perfect. So there's your number 2. So are you happy with each other's honorable mention and up to number 1? So
amazing.
Yeah. That's been good, hasn't it? Well, anyway, let us get to your number 1s. Right, Martin, your number 1 is what?
Okay, right. I'll have to go back a little bit to show this, and then if you don't mind showing the pictures, Shabby.
I've got it, my friend.
Right. Now, this is a original 1980 Empire Strikes Back poster that was in Gary Kurtz's archives that he kept. He kept like lots of stuff from all of the films that he produced, and he got together with a guy called Jason Joyner, and they created the Kurtz Joyner archive. And he sold a few bits off a few years back, and this poster was mounted in this massive frame, and it's extremely large. And then underneath, they've inserted Irvin Kershner's signature, George Lucas's signature, and Gary Kurtz's signature.
That is beautiful.
It's literally one of a kind. You'll never find this, I don't think, like this anywhere. If I've often been asked I think Stu asked it, if there was one thing in my collection and the house was on fire, what would you try and grab? Well, I'd probably get a hernia trying to lift this and take it out, but
it'd be worth it.
Can I ask you a question? How many times has Andy Lemire phoned you asking to buy it? Loads of times, or Gary Moore when he was phoned and said, so I've got pictures of it here, so you can put that down. I bet it weighs a ton, that thing.
Yes, it's really heavier.
So here's the pictures of it, and it is beautiful. It really, first of all, such an iconic poster, but look at that.
Yeah,
it's stunning.
Yeah, I mean, it's just got this. The thing about it is as well, it's not really the signatures, or it's just the history of it. I love the fact it's, you know, he probably picked up that poster when they were doing the initial print run, and it was given out to all the producers and the actors or whatever, and he kept his in an archive for years and years before he died. And yeah, I mean, I purchased it at Star Wars Celebration in Germany in 2013, and obviously I had a bit of an issue because I was flying back on a plane. But the guy who was selling it luckily lived in the UK, so I took the risk that he was going to actually tell me the truth, and he took it back when he came back from Germany.
Oh, what a nice guy.
Yeah, and I drove down like the week he got back. I think he lived down south somewhere on the coast. I can't remember exactly. And yeah, I drove it, and I managed to get it in the car because it's so long, with about a centimetre to spare, with the boot being able to be closed. But I mean, I would love nothing more than to have this up on the wall. In my old house, we had it up on the wall, and it was always someone would walk in, and that was the first thing they'd go and look at. And you know, all this stuff behind me is fantastic, and I love it to bits. All of the top 5 I've given you tonight, but this. And the fact it's got George Lucas's signature on it, and Irvin Kershner and Gary Kurtz, you know, I think Stu agree with me. Gary Kurtz was so important to the first 2 Star Wars films. Irvin Kershner was probably the best director we ever had for a Star Wars film, and George Lucas, well, he's the man. And
what can you say about him exactly?
So I mean, I don't really collect autographs, to be honest with you, but you know, these are 3 that I'll cherish forever, and yeah, that's my number 1.
I think if I had one word to sum that up, that would be perfection.
Yeah, I agree, mate. It says right here as well, original film poster released in 1980. The poster comes from the producer Gary Kurtz's own collection, preserved as the Kurtz Joyner archive. Wow, man, that is impressive. Yeah, look at that. I didn't have to blow it up with the next picture.
I got a lovely letter as well from Gary Kurtz that he signed as well, like, telling me about it. So I've got that as like an authenticity, what do they call it, certificate of authenticity or something? Yeah. And so you know, that was lovely as well. He like wrote a letter and sent it to me, you know, to prove that it was him, that, you know, it came from him. So yeah, it's a really, really lovely piece.
So you've just discussed this about where you're putting it and so forth, but Des says, is it on display in a vault? The thing about a poster like that, though, it doesn't have to be in a toy room or you could put that anywhere, really, couldn't you?
Yeah.
So
I mean, you have got plenty of wall space, Martin. I will give you that.
Yeah, you know, everyone, look at this! Wow!
Yeah.
And then this is something that Mudhorn says right here. It says it's based on the poster design for Gone to the Wind, and you can kind of see that as well.
Yeah.
You know, he's
yeah.
I love those old posters. A poster that tells a story. I mean, is there a poster that you would love to have, Stu? Like, you think I would love to have that?
I've got the poster, but it's not. It's a copy. It's nothing like that. I mean, I'm happy with the one I got, but that, like I said, is absolute perfection. You've got 3 legends' signatures. There's Kurtz, Lucas, and Kirshner. And I mean, for me, that is, like Martin said, the best poster, I think, of all the movies.
My favorite poster of all Star Wars is the minimalistic one. You know, that one's Return of the Jedi with the 2 hands just holding their lightsaber. It goes up. But Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, they're just built in Star Wars. Just so iconic, those posters, aren't they? They're just absolutely brilliant. So
I wish I'd have kind of gone first, really, and let Martin go last with that, because I feel like mine's going to be a bit of a
no competition, buddy. He says it's on to play the ball, and Desi says somewhere.
Can I just mention something else quickly about the weekend? So we were up by Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
And basically what happened was there was this tour group there, and I think they were Germans, and as soon as Martin heard him, he's like that.
That story was true. Actually, it was true, Shabby, but the person that did that wasn't Martin. Actually, it was the person who's just below me right now, and he did it right next to him, in front of him, and it was the second moment of the weekend where I was so embarrassed I didn't know where to look.
So next time he asks, so I'm washing my hair tonight, Stu. I won't be able to. I thought for a minute Martin was going to say the poster took Steph's seat on the plane. Very nice, says Vintage Toy Rush. Was there any competition to buy it at Celebration? That's a good question.
Well, that poster was sat next to another with a picture of Yoda on Dagobah, and Frank Oz visited the set, and he had Miss Piggy and Kermit sitting next to Yoda on the log in the film, and it had Frank Oz's signature and Jim Henson's signature. And it was a choice between the two, because I love the Muppets as well. But I went for this one, and it was the first day, so there may have been competition, but I didn't give him a chance because I didn't even offer him. Like, I didn't ask him to knock it down. I just paid what he wanted for it there and then, because I knew that would be gone very, very quickly. So yeah.
And the thing is, I'm never going to ask you how much it is, but things like that, all they're going to do is go up. That's it. And you know, I mean, that's not going to lose its value. So wow, unbelievable.
Yeah, that is stunning.
That was George Lucas's hands holding that lightsaber. I thought it was taken off George holding that would be Luke's new lightsaber. I didn't know that. No, I just thought there's just been something about that post. I think it was in a book or something as a kid. First time I saw it, I just thought, wow, that looks awesome.
Yeah, but it's great somebody in the chat knows about it and can share the information. That's what I mean. It's the chats, you know, people on the live streams and stuff. So yeah,
you've 100% hit the nail on the head. How many times do we do it when we do streams and we're unsure, but someone in the chat knows? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, Stu, what's your number one, buddy?
Right, okay. So cast your mind back. If you now, this is got no nostalgia for me whatsoever. This is more what it means to me. So, and I've purposely not done gifts tonight from people, bar this one. So cast your mind back to 2023. I did the first 24-hour charity live stream for Give Kids the World. And I was then kindly gifted this by Scuba and Leslie. Now, this is the My Little Pony of Give Kids the World. So every time I look at this, I don't just think of Scuba and Leslie. I don't think of Give Kids the World. And Martin hates this word, but I think of the community as a whole for getting behind the charity live stream and for the support that you have given me and Georgie over the last 3 years doing the live stream and to the charity. I mean, we've raised just under 16 grand in 3 years for that charity. And this will live with me forever. I mean, I know people rip the piss and say I'm a brony and stuff like that. Like, so be it. I'll be quite happy a brony. And I'm getting a tattoo of this as well, which is happening in August. So yeah, this means a hell of a lot to me, because when I look back, when I'm an old decrepit fart, or not far off it, I can look back and think of you guys and everybody who's helped make the charity live streams.
I 100% understand that completely. Yeah. I remember our size saying something that was his honourable mention as well, and I think that's why us lads, we're very humble with what we do, and so I agree with that. Without all these people, without doing that, it's not going to be much of a charity, is it? Do you see what I mean? So no, I understand exactly what you mean.
I mean, it's just the fact that, you know, when I first did it, it was 40 odd people. Then the following year, you know, it was 60. Then it was up near enough 90 people. You know, if I do one next year, who knows? It could be over 100 people. And I just think it's such a worthwhile cause. And I know I host it, but you guys are the ones that are making it happen. You're the ones that are getting behind it, supporting it, donating. You're doing your drive like we did, like Martin and Adam did this year. You know, Cy donates his art and stuff like that, and people just get behind it. And to have that as a reminder of that for when, you know, because I'm not going to be on YouTube forever. I don't think I want to be. But like you, Shabby, I want to look back and think, wow, yeah, we've had a great time, and look what we've done. Look what we've managed to achieve. Not just me and Georgie, but as a whole, like that word again, community. What we've achieved and what we've managed to raise. Yeah. Because I was talking to someone a few weeks back, and the amount of money we raised the last time, that was enough to pay for 3 families to go out to Give Kids the World.
You would have been happy with just one. Do you know what I mean? Exactly.
Yeah.
So to get 3,
So that is, although I have no attachment to My Little Pony, that is my number one, because it just means so much.
Absolutely brilliant. I have, well, there you have it. There is Stu's and our Martin's top 5. Brilliant. Loved it. Absolutely loved your stories, loved your stuff. This has been a great 2 hours. Absolutely fantastic. Let's see what the lads are getting. And thank you both for coming on. I really
no, appreciate the invite, mate. Thank you so much.
If there's people out there that are watching a long time ago, and Universal Toy Collector, links for their YouTube channels, they're great. Both of them are great. Give them a sub. You'll like exactly what you see right now. Both of them brilliant. Oh, I can't forget Adam and Georgie as well. I might as well throw them in. Let's have a look. Geek Strong would love an original Emmanuel poster. So let's have a look. My Grail poster would be the Empire Strikes Back Gone with the Wind UK quad. UK quad, what's that? Does anyone know what that is, Palps? I don't know what that means, Palps, but it sounds awesome. Stu, you can't do that, says Adam. Yep. Serious question for Martin. Is it insured?
Yes. There you go. A lot of stuff. We have insured my collection room because, you know, there are some valuable bits in here. So when we had the house insurance done, we did a little sort of extra bit for my collection, because I think in this day and age, you know, I'd be devastated if something happened to the house and, you know, it all went. You know, it'd be nice to be able to replace it.
It makes perfect sense what you're saying. Yeah. Brilliant number one, Stu, says Kim. Exactly, Stu. That's why I like it. So 2 completely different number ones, but they both mean so much. I think it's super. That's why I love doing this show. I think it's great. Yep, My Little Pony for the win. Yes, Martin prefers to use the word instead of give it. But I'm the same. They're just the lads to me. You have to use the word community because that's what we're doing. When you
Well,
put
we
it on
had this
Facebook.
conversation yesterday, didn't we, Martin?
I
And you
don't like
didn't
that
really
either.
like the word community,
No, I
did you?
don't.
I didn't know what to say. A cult, club, you know. I don't know.
The lads. I'd just say the
Yeah,
lads.
the lads.
Hey, lads. When I
Like-minded
write an editor.
friends. Yeah.
Like-minded
Yeah,
friends.
I think it's because community is not a word I've ever used until the last 5 or 6 years, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
You know, Brony Power says Geek Strong.
Yeah, I thought you might be happy, yeah.
We tease because we love it. Yeah, exactly right.
No,
Brilliant
good
choice for number 1, Stu. Yeah. No,
Thank
we
you.
don't, Darcy. Honestly. So to sum up, Golditron's turned up. Golditron, to sum up what Stu said, friendship is right. I agree.
Thank you, Goji. Cheers, pal.
No, Des. I tease because he's a twat. Unbelievable. Oh, if I do one next year, pull the other ones, Stu. Look at Reddy's getting involved as well. Brilliant. Cheers, Hops. Thanks a lot. This will live for you forever, as it will be a tattoo on your leg.
Yes, well, there you go. So that is going to get filmed. I've got it all organised. I've just got to wait for a date, and then it'll be getting done. So Georgie's going to be filming it. So yeah.
Look at that. Next year, it's going to be 16 years. No, this year. Oh, no, next month, 9th of July, 16 years on YouTube for BOE.
Wow.
Great list, boys. Have you two got anything coming up before I let you both go?
Just a couple of videos this week, and then the quiz is back on Sunday.
Right. What about you, Martin?
Well, just because I'm sick to death of having as many subs as I've got, so we're going to do a thing on The Last Jedi tomorrow night.
I'm washing my hair tomorrow night, Martin. I won't be
So
I'm
we're doing
going
our
to
top 10.
watch you two squirm. I'm going to watch it just to watch you two squirm.
I have to say, if you're not a sequel fan, me and Adam can't hide the disdain that we have for The Last Jedi in this video that comes out tomorrow. We tried our best, but it couldn't do it.
It's hard, isn't it? Because I will give the sequels some credit. The costumes designs are not the brilliant. The Star Wars up, they look fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
Because I always used to say I'd come on a stream slagging it off, and then I'd go out and buy the figures. So, but I agree with. Oh, that'll be good. I've got me and Si are going to talk to Keith Knight on Wednesday. Do a play on Keith's Customs, which I'm really looking forward to doing that with Keith. That's going to be great. And then obviously Zia is on Matt's this week. We've changed weeks because I'm away at Joe Fest. Next week's top 5, there's a double bill. Next week's top 5. On Monday, I've got Scott Whitehouse and Luke Reynolds on Monday. And on Wednesday, 2 people you might know. Stephen Georgie doing.
Never heard of him. Never heard of him.
So that'll be great. Can't wait. Can't wait. So next week is a double bill, and then that's it. And then Tub Thumpers starts when I get back from Joe Fest. So
can I just say, Shabby, this has been absolute awesome series. To do the amount of live streams you do, to the level of entertainment you provide, not just yourself, but with Si as well. Testament to you, mate. Absolute tremendous, because it isn't easy doing these things. It really is.
No, it's not.
Time consuming. It's hard work. You put your heart and soul into it. It shows. So testament to you, mate. The pair of you, you're fantastic.
It's like I've always said, and I agree with what you said about the YouTube thing before. One of my favorite things about this, I mean, it's a nightmare when you get to 1,000, you go down and you get a new piss them on about. My favorite thing is all the people we've met and all the people we've got to know, and looking at each other, how people collect and the different cultures around the world and what they can find and what we can't find, and that kind of. I've loved it all, but I agree with both of you. It said without this lot, it's just us 3 talking, you know, which I'd still like anyway, to be honest. But I mean, to have 62 people tonight we had in a chat to come in and just listen to us 2 talk about toys. Honestly, we have, and I'll include you two too, because we all have the same people watching. We have the best audience in the world. We really do.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate every one of it.
Thank you.
Great top stream as always. Fantastic items. Looking forward to Keith's. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And so Si's gonna oh my God. Thank you so much. Thank you to Martin. Thank you to Stu for coming on. And I appreciate it. All right, lads. Say good night.
See you later.
Good night.